anything I've accomplished, I've just done it for longer than everyone else. You have to stay in the game longer than you assume you have to stay in the game. So like I have something like that I call a 10-year rule. It could be a relationship, it could be losing weight, it could be building a business. Find a way to stay in the game for an unreasonable amount of time.
What are some of the best questions to ask yourself about what you're signing up for, whether it's relationship, business, industry, or like health vertical?
I actually did some sort of like Ikigai zone of genius exercise without even thinking about it. Does the world need it? Can I monetize it? Do I have the skill set to do it? The predominant question was, can I do it for a long enough period of time for it to become successful? But does it fill this Ikigai Venn diagram of these perfect parts of my life sort of being overlapped and aligned towards this one thing that I want to do? And the answer was yes. A lot of the stuff isn't public anymore on YouTube, but I probably have 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 videos up on YouTube over the course of like the past 10 years, just trying different things. Like I'm just looking at, like I just went like oldest and I'm looking at the shit and I remember recording some of this stuff and I've just tried everything.
Yeah, it's like
I'm not even gonna like even, I'm like 200 videos in and I'm not even like in Miami yet in my life. Like these are like videos that I was still recording back in Toronto. I was just trying different things. I was doing like software, like walkthroughs and stuff like that.
It's like the Ali Abdal thing where like at first he was just like teaching doctors how to be like
I love his
productive.
Content. Yeah.
And then like Dan Coe was a big one for me, like kind of like my generation. Like at first he was doing like marketing
Dan Coe
agency.
was way later for me than Ali Abdal. Like I saw Ali like early on. And then Dan was like, I've only seen him in like the past year.
Yeah, well I think for me, he popped up on my radar about like late 2022. And
I'm not gonna find it.
He had started, he had started doing what was it, like journaling content, like how to think about like one person businesses and like lean teams and like the future of digital, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But if you go back on his, it was like he was running a marketing agency and he was like telling people how to land clients, and then it was marketing content, and then it was X, and then it was YZ, and now he's like bigger, you know. And it's
I didn't know that he did that before.
And he talks about how that'll evolve, like that same point that you're making. And so for me, like, to future me, like who knows where you're going to be in 5-10 years, but right now it's like sales management, info coaching, whatever. And that's kind of who I'm catering to. And I think to kind of flip it into the intro, like we met at the fan base's New Year's party, and we luckily got a ride home in an Uber. Luckily for me, at least, we shared an Uber home with Noah.
That was far out.
Yeah.
That was like an hour Uber.
Yeah, I was like,
nowhere,
okay.
So
I was like, yo, like Noah's like, this guy's a fucking baller. Like, you need to pick his brain.
That was
I was
awesome.
like, okay, cool. And I didn't actually know who you were before that. And then he was like, yeah, this guy runs like the biggest podcast, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, no way. And that like lit a fire under me. And I was like, hey man, you can tell me to shut the fuck up if you just want to like stare out the window for the ride home, but like
well, this was New Year's Eve at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
It's and like, I was really drunk.
Yeah, and we were debating like going to the club or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, is space, like what do we think? We get a section? I'm like, hey, real quick, can I ask you like 15 questions about podcasts?
Yeah.
And just like, I'll take it if you're willing to give it.
But I love talking about this stuff, mostly because I just find it fun. I mean, it's like, I think that's a sign that you're doing the right thing. Like when talking about it just lights you up. I think also I don't want people to like struggle with all the same bullshit that I had to deal with when I was starting out. And I think that's most people that are like successful at that thing. They're like, let me just help you out so you don't have to like go through all the stress. And yeah, I always talk about this stuff way more than I should. It's funny because in that car ride, Gina, so my fiance, she's in the back seat and she like hears me go off about this stuff all the time. And she passed, like, she's like, I'm out. Like literally, she's like fell asleep in the car. I'm like, I don't want to hear any of this anymore.
Right.
But no, I always love chatting about this stuff, and I'm like, it's interesting to me. I don't quite understand how it lands or doesn't land sometimes, because I've probably had this conversation that we were having in the car, sober, with like probably 50 or 60 people, like just like general podcast questions with people really interested in starting a podcast or creating more content. And I'm like their one like content friend, and they're like, how do I get going? And I've even written down like the things, and I may have even told you that I was going to send you something, because I usually do, but then I was drunk and forgot, and it was New Year's Eve and I was hungover in the morning. But I usually like send somebody this Excel doc, and I think it's a little bit out of date now, so I should probably update it. Basically the steps that I do every single day, like my SOPs for a podcast. It's like sick. That's I just send it to people. Because I didn't really ever sell a course. That wasn't really the goal when I was starting a podcast. I didn't gate anything. I was very much like a student of the Gary Vee, like just put everything out there and you'll find a way to make money. And I started that way, and I was sort of in a good position, fortunately, where I didn't have to worry about money when I started the podcast because I was still building a business. So I give this stuff away to literally anybody who asks. And I would say 2 or 3 people have actually taken it and like ran with it and built a podcast from it. And like, I won't name names because I will never take credit for someone else's hard work, but like there's some that are very big shows now that were just like, I just sent them the document and then they just took it and ran with it.
Well, that was my question, was like, out of those 50, like how many people actually...
Like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Max.
Sure.
Max. It's just
and some of them are big.
Yeah.
Those 2 or 3.
One of them's very big.
Very cool.
Very big. Yeah.
Well, shout out to the anonymous, very big guy that
he's
you
a cool dude,
nudged along.
But he took it and he like really ran with it. And I've given it out so many times now that I'm actually shocked. It's like, it's a little bit sad, but I'm actually surprised when somebody takes action. Unfortunately, like one thing I've had to kind of readjust my expectations on is in the online info coaching space. Mm-hmm. From the client point of view, like if someone's trying to invest into like a biz op coaching program or like whatever, they're like, what is your success rate? Yeah. And ideally you want to say it's 100%, but obviously it's not. And to think it would be north of 100% is ridiculous, right? Like the through line of how many people actually complete a course. And I don't know where this study came from, so I could be like totally pulling this out of my ass, but like the completion rate of online courses is like fucking 8%. I feel like, just without looking at data, I don't feel like that's that off.
Yeah. And the way that I think about it is you've probably seen this a lot, and now you're on the other side of it kind of as someone who's made a name for themselves and things like that, but the bar is kind of on the floor. And in general, like if you just do like 3 extra things compared to the layperson, like that's your competitive advantage. Yeah. And like nowadays, like we have so much immediate gratification and so many like instant dopamine loops. Yeah. It's not really hard to win. And I remember the first time I recognized this was like when I started a construction company out of college. Me and my buddies, they started, and I kind of came in and became like the third partner of it. We were doing this in Tennessee, and our competitive advantage was like we showed up. They're like, oh, you called us back. And it's like, what the hell? And like consistently, especially in the world that we live in, like that's why making the information free, I think, is a good play, because it's like, if you ever think, I don't really believe in the whole like don't share your alpha because you're creating competition. It's like, dude, first of all, I think in abundance, like blue ocean wise, and even if I say it, you're not going to do it anyways. 100%. And so success rate for some of the coaching programs I work with is like 5 out of 10 people do the thing. They get the outcome in the time. And it's really not because like, and some of these, I won't name any programs specifically, but some of these programs, like one of them, their refund rate is 0.2% over 20,000 customers. Like their NPS score is like through the roof.
That's really good.
Like it's the best that I've ever come across. Like like their NPS score is 75, which basically means like 3 out of 4 people rate it 10 out of 10 that they would recommend it to a friend.
I know. I don't know if everybody who's listening knows what an NPS is, but that's really not normal.
Right. Like Apple's NPS score and Starbucks is like 60, so to have an NPS score of 75, like, and for anybody who's listening, NPS is Net Promoter Score, which basically means the percentage of promoters, which is anybody who would recommend it to a friend 9 out of 10 or more, minus the detractors, which is anybody below 7.
Is that the actual calculation?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Percentage of promoters minus percentage of detractors. So it's between 100 and negative 100. So if you had like 10 people and they all rated it 5 out of 10, you'd have 0 minus 10 because you have 100% detractors, basically. Anyways, they're really good, and their success rate is like half of the people get a client in the amount of time that they kind of suggest. So people get in their own way.
The X factor in their success is they found a way to actually get people to take action. And that's really it. The knowledge is everywhere. It's just... And
even the people that didn't get the result because they did something on their own to not do it, they still said, oh, I can't blame the program on this. It's my fucking fault. Because it's hard, man. People have and I remember the founder wrote an essay. He's a really good writer. And he wrote an essay like how to be a good student, lessons learned after mentoring 12,000 people. And he said something along the lines of like, people have a miraculous way to get in their own way, and like basically talking about how people are fickle and like it takes a lot of selling on things. But long story short, it's not surprising that only a few people took action. And I'll tell you one thing, the way that I walk into any sort of coaching relationship, and I've been so blessed lately to have good mentors in my life that have really helped me jump levels. I always tell them like, hey, like whatever you tell me to do, like I am going to do it. Like I will, if you say stab somebody, I'll stab them, like whatever. And like, I try to take that frame as a student because, you know, we have 2 ears, we have 1 mouth. That's why I'm doing a lot of listening. And that's why I love podcasts so much. And then, that's just the differentiator. It's just like, just actually execute on the thing. And for a mentor, like for you to pour into somebody, it's kind of sad, you know, because it's like, you don't want to cast pearls before swine. Like you don't want to give away the sauce and then it just falls on deaf ears, but it's like part of the game, you know?
But listen, this is why you never have to worry about someone else taking your idea or stealing your idea. You don't have to protect, you don't have to sign NDAs before you talk to somebody about what you're building, because nobody's going to build it.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with G the other day, Gina, about like AI. She read some article about how AI is going to reduce the barrier to entry for startups and everybody can be an entrepreneur, and it's going to basically make it harder to be a successful entrepreneur at the same time because everybody can do it.
Yep.
And I thought it was an interesting angle, but I completely disagree with it, because even if it's super easy, it's not like the technology or the money or the skill set, especially in 2026, is blocking people from building something. It is 100% themselves. So even if the barrier to entry is lower, that just means that there's going to be more people. There'll be a few more people trying to build, but the people that win are the people that find a way to stay in the game, and the people that find a way to stay in the game for like 5 years or 10 years. It's still not going to be like everybody is just going to jump off their couch, quit their job, go build a company. And even if there are a few more, it's still not going to be the people that take the first step. It's going to be people that sort of hang around for 10, 15 years building that thing that are going to be successful. So I still think that, you know, I'll back it up and say one more thing. When I first started this podcast, it'll bring this sort of story home. When I first started this podcast, I focused a lot on tactics, like very, very tactical. Like I'd bring on a guy who would talk about like how to, you know, build out a Facebook ad set that would have like a 5x ROAS, like super tactical stuff. Okay.
The content, you mean?
Yeah, the content. When I first started the podcast, I was interviewing a lot of people that were talking about very tactical stuff. And I realized that it's actually not the tactics that makes somebody successful. It's all these mindset ideas. Even Gary Vee, I just had him on, and he talks about social media all day long. He can speak to, he's a very smart operator. He's built I think like a 300, 400, 500,
million,
whatever, $1 million marketing agency. And
which I was surprised by the way. I mean, I know he was a baller, but like,
no,
his marketing agency do multi-9 figures.
He's a very
like,
good entrepreneur. Crazy, right?
You know, he doesn't talk a lot about the tactics and stuff and 9-figure
No, he doesn't.
ops. No,
so
9-figure
when I'm
ops.
interviewing him, like I'm giving him like, I'm like, you know, I'm giving him these like layups, right? I'm like, hey, like, I'm like, so, you know, what's going on with live streaming and how are influencers going to monetize live streaming? And I'm, what's like the future of social media? And why are you talking about Substack? I'm giving these like very specific, like these very like easy layups for somebody who's like an operator to go in and talk about
minutia and getting them.
And he would just sort of like blow past them and then go back into the mindset stuff. And I'm like, why do you keep, I asked him I'm like, I keep giving you these layups to talk about like strategy. Why do you keep not going into it? Because I know you can. And he said, it's because none of that really matters. It's like all the mindset, all the things we talk about staying in the game and overcoming the imposter syndrome and just shipping and just taking action and all the stuff that we all talk about on these shows, all the stuff that every single entrepreneur that I've ever interviewed who's successful truly believes, those are the things that actually are the differentiator. So action's one of them, but there's a whole bunch of like belief systems that allow you to take action and allow you to take action for a long enough period of time. That's really it.
Yeah.
Because all the stuff you need to learn about podcasting, being successful on social media, starting a business, it's all out there. Like if you look up enough YouTube videos or podcasts or whatever on how to start a podcast,
back and forth,
you figure it out.
Yeah.
It's not complicated. It's just hard work.
Yeah.
It's not
simple,
that complicated.
It's simple, not easy. You know?
Yeah, very much.
And I think like what's interesting to me is I have a good friend. His name is Gavin, and he's the coach at one of the bigger like sales coaching programs right now. He's working with my other buddy named Johnny, and Gavin is like extremely skilled. Like he's probably one of the best like skill set sales guys that I know, and he's coached reps. The other day he shared something along the lines of, for a long time I thought it was just skill set, but it's actually mindset. And when I look back at my like career as a closer, when I was just like as an individual rep, I didn't have the Jedi mind trick stuff. I didn't have the best reframes, all this other stuff, but I just showed up with certainty and conviction. And my resilience was like, my ability to get back to baseline on my mental state was so high that I did extremely well. And looking back, like I was way more of the camp of mindset, and I'm coming from the like sales, which you have to be headstrong and you have to be able to get punched in the face. And then the ultra marathon stuff, it's like that's the only two things that I really think about. Like that's kind of like my DNA, like the David Goggins, like just keep going type thing. And so for me, like people are like, hey, like how are you like everywhere at once and the podcast and this and that? I'm like, dude, I don't fucking know. I'm just executing. I'm like, they're like, what's the name of the podcast? I'm like, I haven't even thought of the name. Like, who cares? Like, I just want to go. Like,
just call your name.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Tristan working podcast. All that matters. Yeah.
But mindset is huge. I guess to parlay into that and to give you the floor for that idea, what are some of those mantras? And I don't know if you have like your company's like core values or you have like these things that you've probably thought through, but you've learned from a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've had the Gary V's on and some other big guests, and
but they all have the same. They don't all call it the same thing,
right?
But they all have like sort of the same mantras, whatever mental models that they take that they internalize and allows them to be successful. So there's a few. We can go through them.
Yeah, let's go either your favorites or recent ones, or just like top of mind right now, like in your season of life. Like what are the models that you're thinking through on a recent basis?
Let's go through them. One other thing that's interesting before we go into that, even in a job, we're talking about like usually these conversations, 80% of the audience is like entrepreneurs and they're trying to like build a business. They're like these self-taught individuals. Even in a job, you mentioned something that was really interesting. Like the mindset that differentiates you and allows you to be successful from like your 5 or 10 peers. Again, all of these ideas will still apply to you. So you mentioned something that like what differentiates you as a salesperson. It's like calling somebody back quickly and responding like within like 24 hours. Like these are not difficult skills. I don't even know if it's a mindset thing as opposed to like just like work ethic, service, and like responsibility.
Ethic.
That's it. But that does differentiate you, because when I started my career in sales, that's also what differentiated me. When I was like 20 years old, I was making more money than people that like I started in a huge telecom company. I was making more money because it was partly commission based than people who were working there for like 30 years.
Yeah.
Just because like you get after it and you work harder and you put more hours in. I remember when I first started that same company, there was sort of like when you were coaching somebody because they weren't performing, there were 2 reasons why you could coach them. So if they weren't performing, weren't hitting their numbers, right? It was either skill or will. Same shit, exact same shit. Skill means you literally don't know what you're doing. That can be coached up.
Yep.
You can figure that out. I can give you a better script, or I can show you how to disqualify somebody who's not an ideal customer a little bit quicker so you don't waste your time with them. I can give you some more product knowledge so you can be a little bit more competent on the phone when you're talking to somebody. Like I can coach you on skill all day. It's easy. Will is said differently. Do you give a shit? It's a mindset thing. And will is the only thing we ever fired people for.
Do you think you can teach someone to care?
Well,
or have a will?
You can't teach someone to care, but sometimes lack of caring is an issue because the leader or the manager or the executive did not properly align that person's life goals and business goals with the goals of the company.
Fair.
So and most people don't really do that well. So if I hire you and I don't know where you want to go in your life, then you're going to look at this job as transactional. It's just some way to make money.
Yeah.
And that unfortunately is probably most people that get hired anywhere. But if I, as a leader, and I'm not saying that it's always the leader's fault or it's always the employee's fault. There's some really good leaders that try their best and the employee just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
You can't help everybody. And there's some really great employees that keep saying, hey, I want to grow in this company, or hey, I want to learn this, or hey, I want to take school on the side so I can learn this skill so I can get to this role or this job title or this salary level. And the leader doesn't give a shit. So sometimes it's not one, it's not the other. But in a perfect situation, I think that more leaders drop the ball and don't actually care about where that employee wants to end up. But if they did, and they found a way to tie that employee's quite literally life goals to the objectives of the business and show that if you achieve X in my business, in my team, I'll help you achieve Y, that's a great way to actually make the person care and to make the person not just sort of show up, clock in, clock out. So that could be one way to fix will, but it takes two people that are sort of willing to make the effort.
Aligning their incentives with that of the company so that their goals are related to the goals and they overlap.
100%. And it doesn't even, like, this is more of like a hiring lesson, but we always assume it's money, and money is a component of it. I don't think it's always money. I think some people care about job title. Some people care about responsibility. Some people care about balance. Some people don't give a shit about balance, and they just want to make more, like they just want to put more hours in. Some people, this is what really trips leaders up and founders and CEOs or whatever, somebody's hiring anybody. It really trips them up when somebody wants to achieve a certain status or salary and you can't offer that as a company and you don't know what to do with that person. My advice is to make a contract with that person, assume they're not going to be with you for like 10 years, but make a contract with that person outside of the job contract saying, hey, we're going to work together for 2 years or 3 years, whatever that time frame is. While we're working together, you're giving me 100% of you. You're not like quiet quitting and taking interviews on lunch and all that other bullshit that people do. But also, we're going to figure out which company can pay you $500,000 a year, or you want to go work for Fang, you want to go work for Google, whatever. I'm going to find out exactly how to get you an interview with the hiring manager for the department that can pay you the salary you want or give you the job title. Say we're like an early stage startup, right? Say I only have like me and like 10 employees, but I found a really badass employee and I want them to succeed. Well, I can't give you a director or a VP job. It doesn't exist. Yeah. Like hopefully one day.
And you know that they have that X factor and you're like, oh yeah, this guy's going to be great without us. Like, 100%. But I'd rather facilitate and meet them and take that 2 years, get 100% out of them to up level them onto that next
But then you work towards it. You both work towards it. So they're not screwing off. And they're not wasting your time. Wow. But you're not wasting their time.
It's like breaking the fourth wall.
It is.
And still
you just listen, all these ideas. This is radical candor, right? How do you have these conversations with people? Go read Kim Scott, Radical Candor, and then you have that conversation when you're hiring them. So you actually know what they want. Not the bullshit version of what they want. Not the, I want to grow, I want to learn new things. Like, no, like where do you actually want to go? I don't care if it's with my company or not. But I'll help you get there as long as we both give each other 100% while we're working together. I think that's a much more realistic way to hire and to lead in 2026 than people who think, hey, I'm going to hire you, you're going to be with me for 15 years. That is not the way the average person structures their career.
Sure.
So what
Certainly
happens,
not for me.
No. So what happens is you hire somebody and then you think they're going to be with you for 15 years or you're almost lying to yourself because you know there's a really good chance they're going to quit at some point. And then 3-4 years in, they see another opportunity or they're not getting paid enough or you don't even know what they want in their career, but they know what they want. So they're going to start looking for it. And then they're starting to sort of slack off. They give you less of themselves. You're wondering why they're like half-assing it. And then they quit. And then you're left with this body and this gap in your workforce you have to fill. And then it's stressful and it's time consuming and it's expensive and it pisses off the rest of the team because they have to cover their workload. It's just not good. So that's something that I strongly advocate for if you're going to hire anybody. Know where they want to end up. Even like my first video editor for my podcast, he wanted to build a marketing agency. So I could have hired him as a video editor and not paid attention to what he was doing. One day he's like, hey, Scott, I have to stop working with you. I'm starting a marketing agency. I want to go out on my own as opposed to just being dedicated to you. That would have sucked for sure. I would have left me with like probably a couple weeks trying to scramble to find like a new editor. Or over the past almost 6.5 years of us working together, he has built out an agency simultaneous to working with me. And now he runs a full agency and I'm just one of his clients. So whether or not it's one freelancer or an employee in an early stage startup team, or you're a bigger company and you have thousands of employees, like this should be the way you hire.
Yeah, it brings me to a point that I heard on, I think, Tim Ferriss, and I might get this wrong. The guy who wrote Good to Great with Jim Collins.
Jim Collins.
Yeah. Freaking awesome guy. What a legend. Yeah. That would be a good podcast guest to have. I know it was pretty hard for Tim to get him on, but he said something about, or maybe it's in the book, or I didn't read it, but it had something to do with like level 5 leadership and how like they analyze all the speeches of the CEOs of the best companies that actually stood the test of time. And all of the language that they used in the speeches that they gave were like we statements and less I statements. And then they had like this.
I've heard this before.
They had this idea of like, it was like they think there's a mission that's greater than themselves within the company.
Yeah.
And that's where you unlock all that like discretionary effort. And so,
but it's more than just, so I agree with you, but I think a lot of people may use we statements and then they still don't know what the individual direct reports on their team care about.
Yeah, that's super fair. And I think
it's scary. Like by the way, it takes like a lot of effort to create a psychologically safe space.
And honesty.
100%. For a new hire to tell you that in 5 years they don't want to work with your company.
Yeah.
That's scary as shit. That's exceptionally scary. But I would rather have somebody who's incredibly ambitious, super entrepreneurial, and super honest with me and be like, hey, I want to be a VP at Google. Well, damn, I want 5 years of somebody who wants to be a VP at Google. That is an incredibly ambitious person, probably incredibly smart. I can either be heard about it or I can just be like, hey.
You're grateful that they can spend the time there
100%.
with your company. Yeah, that fourth wall part, like even if it's not 15 years with me, like that makes a lot of sense.
No, it's good.
And I could do a much better job of that.
Well, I think that you start to do it intuitively when you're like, and I'm not saying you're not. I don't want to allude to that. That's not what I'm saying here. But I think that if you are an empathetic person, I think that it comes a lot easier if you are. But also, we're all business people here. So I think the reason why even if we feel intuitively like we want everyone to be successful, maybe we put a wall up just because we're scared about where that conversation is going to go and we don't bridge that gap. Like even when we're interviewing people, it's very uncomfortable to sort of like go a layer deeper than are you going to be operationally efficient at this job? Like, can you do the tasks required? Like to get beyond that and to get to know the person, it's like, it is like a level of intimacy that I think a lot of people are scared to reach. Like, cause that means you're like, hey, we're gonna have a real conversation about where your career is gonna go here.
Yeah, it's like, hey, let's just stop the recording. Let's kick the fathom out for a
100%.
second.
And I think that even some leaders, some people that hire would have a really hard time doing this because no one's ever asked me this in my career, and I've worked for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, and I've worked for some really good, empathetic, caring, thoughtful individuals, not like asshole. Like it's just like a level deeper that a lot of people are afraid to go. Because it's not common. Like all the things we're talking about here, these are not the way that people structured their careers even 10 years ago. 10 years ago was like still there was this illusion that you're going to work for someone for 30 years. There was like still like people like tried to like cosplay that was like how a career worked, even though like anybody who was like under the age of 40 did not structure their career that way. Anyways, so I want to talk about some ideas, some mental models.
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. Okay, so there's a few. And I'll list them out and then you can tell me which ones you want to go into. So the first one, these are not unique to me. These are not entirely my ideas. These are just ideas that.
Only original ideas. No,
only
original. No,
there is no such thing as an
right,
original
right,
idea.
yeah.
You know, we were talking before about like going off into some like weird ass topics. One thing that I find is really fascinating is all the ideas, all the mindset stuff that people throw around on podcasts. First of all, none of it's new. And it can go all the way back to like religious texts. And if you look at,
I was going to say in my mind when
Stoics,
you're saying that.
philosophers, none of these ideas are new.
Yeah. When you said that, I was like, I mean, the Bible's like kind of like all the personal development books just like funnel back to the Bible. And then, like, beyond that, like
they do, but we are ignorant and we do not study history, and, and we just kind of like we hear something on a podcast like, oh, that's so novel. Like, no, it's not. It's not. It's been said much better, probably like 1,000 times before. But these are the ideas that have impacted me, and these are the ideas that I think have impacted and sort of like had the biggest influence on the people that I've interviewed too. Which is important. So one of the ideas is the concept of ownership. I speak about this often, but there's two versions of not ownership. The concept is actually called locus of control, which insinuates ownership. So there's external locus of control and internal locus of control. External locus of control actually means that you feel like the world happens to you. Everything happens to you by chance.
Agency.
You have no agency. You have no control. You have no ownership of everything. Something good happens, it's luck. If something bad happens, why is the world out to get me? That's external locus of control. It's almost like, you just have zero agency and ownership over your own life. And I think that's the majority of people. They don't believe that they can actually architect their own life and their own reality. And I think that this idea of external locus of control was countered by the concept of like manifestation, because manifestation assumes that you can control your own life. But I think the first, iteration of manifestation was poorly articulated to the general populace, because it was something along the lines of, if you like think about money, you're gonna like see money on the street or some shit. Or if you think about a salary, you're gonna get that. Like that's completely, like there's a lot of things that are wrong with that. So I think that a lot of people feel helpless, and that is what external locus of control really is. It's helplessness in life. You have no control over anything. Versus internal locus of control, that means that you feel like you have control over everything.
Quick thing, I think like, as you're saying this, I'm thinking through it, and like there's some people that affirmations and writing their goals down on a notepad and putting it on the front of their phone and visualizing it and doing something that manifests, it works out for them. And there's some people that look in the mirror.
I'll explain why it works out for them.
Right. And some of them, people shout in the mirror and like, I'm a millionaire and I'm beautiful. And that doesn't fucking work.
And they're not.
And I guess what it sounds like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's like the difference in the locus of control and where they put that.
It's because, yes. So external locus of control assumes that you have no power over anything in your life. Make sense?
Yep. Low agency. Life happens to me.
Exactly.
I do not make life happen.
Exactly. Manifestation is an attempted cure for feeling hopeless and helpless. It's saying, if I say something enough, or if I think about it enough, then it's going to happen. But manifestation is missing a key component. It's action. That's the key component that is completely missing. Internal locus of control is the answer, because it means that anything can happen that I want to have happen, but I am responsible for making it happen. That's the difference. So if I want to start a podcast, I got to take a ridiculous amount of action towards that goal. That's really it. It's if something good happens to me, let me understand that it's because of something I did, and let me study it so I can maybe recreate that.
Sure.
If something bad happens to me, this is always a tough pill to swallow for most people, but if something bad really does happen to me, even if it wasn't my fault, sometimes it is my fault, and I just don't want to admit it, but even if it wasn't my fault, how I react, recover, respond to that thing is entirely within my control.
And it's better, not safer, but it's a more effective framework to think through, that everything, whether it's your fault or not, it's your responsibility.
Very well said. So that shift, the shift from not being able to really control anything in my life to being 100% responsible for everything, that is a shift that, listen, I've done over like 1,000 podcasts at this point, and whether or not it's Anthony Scaramucci, who's like the first guy who ever told me this. He's like, if you know him, he's like a big finance guy. Sure. He was famous for being Trump's director of communications for like 12 days before Trump like did some angry tweet about his wife, and then he like quit or something. I don't know the whole story.
Sure.
But he's a big finance dude. He runs SALT Conference. He's the first guy that sort of like articulated this idea. He said something along the lines of, because I was asking him like, what allows you to play at this level? I can't remember the exact question. It was probably not as eloquent as that, 'cause it's like one of the first podcasts I ever did, but that's a dope question. But
sure.
He said, well, Scott, if I lost everything, if I went back to my little apartment in Brooklyn with no friends, no money, nothing but like, like a shirt on my back, and that's it, I could build back what I've created 100 times, again and again and again and again. I just have absolute belief in myself. That's how that plays out. You just have absolute belief in your competence, your capabilities, your ability to figure it out. And I think that's one of the most important ideas, because if you feel like you cannot figure it out, and you feel like wherever you're at in life is just good or bad luck that was like imbued on you by the world, you're never going to end up anywhere.
It's exhausting trying to coach someone that thinks that way. I guess and luckily like for the people who are listening and the people that I've tried to surround myself with, it's a lot of high agency folks. They make
Yeah.
life happen. But for someone who's like maybe, let's say they're not completely left field, this is a brand new like shattering idea for them.
And this is not a Scott idea. Internal and external locus of control are psychological concepts.
Yeah. Let's say someone's middle of the road and they're
Yeah.
like, they have the potentially to be like really high agency and really like hold a high standard for themselves
Yeah.
on their responsibility. Everything's on me. You know, it's a skill issue if it didn't go the way I want it to, whether it's patience or effectiveness
Yeah.
or whatever. What can someone maybe do to build that?
Hormozy speaks about this a lot, but you look for proof.
Yeah.
You just look for proof.
Yeah.
And I think people are really bad at documenting proof that they're incredible at
Sure.
what they do. So we, as humans, we remember the negative very easily. Remember when you were dumped, sued, fired, lost a deal, whatever.
Refund.
Yeah. You always remember that stuff, right? You do not remember how many times you win in a day. You like, because, and that's like, I'm sure there's people that are much smarter that could talk about this on a psychological or biological level, but I'm sure that's some sort of like preservation mechanism. From a
Probably.
evolutionary perspective, if something bad happens to me, I want to remember that shit. So like
Yeah.
next time I go out hunting, I don't eat that berry.
It's kind of like survive versus thrive, right?
Yes.
Like, there's always like and I thought through this a lot because I have like this, when I wake up, for a long time when I woke up, it was just like this voice of like impending doom, like get out of bed, like go, you're not enough type thing. We all probably deal with that to some
100%.
capacity, but it's like, there's a do better voice and then there's a good job voice. And like when you lose your keys, you say, oh, you fucking idiot. Like you lost your keys again. Like how dumb could you be? How ridiculous is that we say that, by the way? And then whenever you find you have your keys, you're like, you don't go, hell yeah.
I remembered
keys,
everything.
right?
I'm locked in. I got my wallet. I got my keys.
Great job, me.
I remembered a water bottle. Like I'm leaving like 20 minutes on time. Like I'm not going to be late. Like, of course it sounds silly to like congratulate you, but you know what? You got your shit together and you won that moment. And I mean, also words are very important. Words matter. I think there's research around this, but if the way we talk to ourselves, we would never talk to another human that way,
Never.
ever. And when you talk to yourself, even if it's in a joking way, like you're such an idiot, like your brain doesn't really know the difference between like reality and like, I don't know, whatever joke or whatever sort of like casual offside comment you're making. So like it starts to internalize this stuff. It really starts to internalize that. So you have to be careful about what you say to yourself. You really have to be careful about the words you use to describe yourself, whether or not you're successful or not, because that also can turn into your reality.
Yeah.
In the opposite way, because you'll start to self-sabotage if you really think that you screw everything up that you try to do, right? So this is why, it's very, very important to document your wins and to document all the times you've been successful, and you can do that a variety of ways. You can try to remember. You can write shit down that's gone well. I mean, an easy way for most people, without doing too much extra, if you post a lot on social, if people use social for social as opposed to like for business, go look at all the cool shit you've accomplished over the last year. Like literally go scroll. If you just took your Instagram, and this is, I like doing this every once in a while. I do it, actually I did it the day after Yash's place for New Year's, because I wanted to put together a reel, right? So I had to go through all of my content for the last year, and I'm going through my camera roll, and I was just like, wow, life's been incredible.
Yeah.
And I forgot all the cool shit that I did. And some of it was very cool. Like I'm not talking about like little wins like remembering my keys. I'm talking about like speaking on stage at like major conferences, and like bought a condo in Dubai, and I spent my first, I spent like a month there for the first time, and then we saw some family, like some really cool shit. It's like, wow, these are like major life milestones, like, like even like going back 6 years, it was like moving out of Toronto, or 7 years now, moving out of Toronto, coming down to South Florida. That was like, at the time, super overwhelming to figure out visas and everything like that. Like, so all these, and even like a random Saturday when you go out for dinner with friends, and like, I haven't seen these friends in forever. I miss them so much. Like that was so much fun. I remember that. These are all things that we just completely out of your mind the 100%. Second they're over, right?
Yeah. One thing we do for my sales guys is we have an EOD report, and there's a qualitative survey at the end, and it's like, what were my 3 to 5 biggest wins of the day? What went really well? What didn't go as planned? And what am I excited for the day ahead?
That's
right.
smart.
And it's like just having that feedback loop. And you can do that on a personal level too. Like ask yourself at the end of every single day, just journal prompt, what went well, what didn't go so well, and just consciously try to fill in that what went well gap. And then back to what you were saying about like we would never talk to ourselves the way that we would never talk to someone else the way that we talk to ourselves.
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson, I think it's a rule either in his first book or his second book, but on his 12 Rules for Life series, there's a rule that's treat yourself as though you're someone responsible for helping. And in the in the chapter he talks about how like we don't even like half of people that get their antibiotics if they have a sickness, like they don't even finish the dose because it's like fuck, who cares? But if your dog gets sick, you will make sure that dog takes that little medicine, in the
I
bologna.
love that because we are so shitty to ourselves.
Yeah. One of the biggest things that I had to do in terms of unlearning some of those habits, and my mentor that I worked for, Nicholas Cole, he great writer, awesome guy. We would do these weekly one-on-ones, and basically I would just show up like frantic and like emotional, and like I was doing well on my numbers, so we didn't have to talk about any of that. It was just like, hey, how's your mental state, basically. And he had to tell me like, give yourself some compassion, like pretty much for like a year before I really started like actually doing it. And then now I'm giving that advice left and right, and that's one of the pieces of advice that I feel good about prescribing to people. It's like, hey man, give yourself some compassion. Have you thought about that?
Yeah.
And there's no space for it.
That's a great question to ask. I think that more people have to ask that question and not enough do, especially for guys.
Oh,
I don't think, and that has been some of that question alone has unlocked some of the most powerful conversations. And I think that, listen, you never know what's going on in someone else's life. I asked that question as I have equity in a couple different companies, and I asked that question to a founder a couple weeks ago, one of the guys that's running one of the companies that I'm in, and I just said like, hey, how are you doing? Like legitimately, like we have every 2 weeks we have like an hour call to just like brainstorm like stuff that's going on, and I said like, how are you doing? And the conversation came to the point where he's like, Scott, I need to get a job because I can't afford to pay myself because it was an early stage company. And then we were talking about like how to like navigate, and it was like a great conversation because it was super real, and he's going to get a job and he's going to make money, and we're going to find ways to basically maybe raise a bit to take some of the weight off of him because he's like just ripping into his savings right now trying to build this company. And nobody's taking money out of the company yet, but he's like, I got to pay rent. He lives in SF, so it's like very expensive. So that conversation alone, I think that he probably would have felt very apprehensive just like bringing that up with somebody who's like an equity holder in the company. Like, I got to take a job for no reason. But if you're a first-time founder, you get scared about having these conversations with people that ultimately want you to succeed and want to help you. So that conversation led to him, hopefully, I think he will be taking a job that pays well. It's work from home, so he can still work on his thing while he's doing this job. And then we're going to do a small raise to sort of take some of the weight off. And I'm going to bring in a couple other people that I know can actually help. So like basically that question alone led to a better conversation that's going to have more impact on the success of the company than like a 2-hour strategy call.
Yeah. Well, it's like with my reps, like if there's in a rut on the close rate and all that stuff, like, and I'm like, dude, we are not handling the think about it or wife objection properly. It's like, oh, what actually is happening is your mom is like going through a divorce or something, and it's
100%.
affecting you, and she's blown up your phone, and it's like, well, before we even get into any of that, like, is your life on fire?
Yeah.
Like, let's help there,
And sometimes it really is.
Yeah.
Because nobody ever wants to show. I found that. Listen, I've hired a lot of people, and I've been on the other end. I've been hired many times. Nobody wants to show up to work and be unsuccessful. And like I've held jobs when like I'm being broken up with and shit's shitting the fan. I have a very hard time like opening up my personal life, especially when I was younger in my career to the people that were hiring me. And on the other side of it, when I was hiring more people, I would also find they have a very tough time like being real about what's going on in their life. But it's never like when somebody's performance is truly slipping, mine or somebody who I had hired, somebody on my team, it was never about they hate the job, they hate me, they hate the work, they're like purposefully sabotaging. It's like, It's usually because there's a lot of shit going on in their life and they do not have the mental capacity to operate at 150% because all the stuff you just mentioned, money, illness, family, death, divorce, broken up with, whatever it is. Just smashed up my car this morning, just got pulled over. I was speeding coming in, like, rattled me a little bit. A million different things. But it's never usually, hey, I woke up and I want to half-ass it at work today. Very few people actually want to suck at their job. Most people want to do very well at their job. Sure. It's just human nature to make people proud of you, to succeed, to perform. That is our default for the majority of people. So if somebody's really off, there's a much better chance that there's some shit going on in life. Even if they don't tell you, there is a really good chance. Now, how you navigate that, that's a more difficult thing to figure out, because if they really don't want to open up to you, you can't have somebody who's not performing for forever on your team. Yeah. But just know that if you go in hot-headed, like saying, hey, you're really shitting the bed today, get your shit together, that's not going to be that helpful for the goal and the result that you're trying to achieve.
It's different if it's like consistently you're having to kind of pat them up and it's like, hey man, we can only give so much grace. But yeah, definitely makes sense.
But also I would say one more thing too. Like if we go back to the first thought, if they believe that you are invested in their personal future, I don't think they're going to be as concerned about opening up to you.
That's a great point.
Because that idea of like aligning personal goals with business goals is common sense. It makes sense, but so rare that they will be like, I don't want to lose this opportunity. I genuinely believe that, and maybe people are going to give me shit for this, but I don't think that many people do this. So I think that if you just go like, again, the bar is low for entrepreneurship, the bar is low for leadership, the bar is low for hiring, the bar is low across the board. So give 2 fucks and go the extra mile, and you will have people that will like die for you in your business and want to like go above and beyond and want to have these like super candid conversations, and it makes everything easier.
Well, it's funny too, because like even if you're, and hopefully if you're watching this, you're not a sociopath, but even if you are, it actually is a selfish thing that you can do for yourself to care more about your employees, because then it'll affect how they perform and stuff. And 100%. So like either way you shake it, like hopefully you have your good intentions and your heart is like pure with it. But like,
let's be optimistic.
Yeah, sure. Right. Yeah. But I'm thinking like, even if it still makes sense to do that, And so I wonder like why the leadership is on the floor. And I guess like to maybe parlay that into some other
because
helpful
their leaders
ideas.
are bad too.
Yeah.
And they're overworked and they're stressed out and they're 1 foot in, 1 foot out of their job. So if you're 1 foot, if the CEO doesn't give a shit about his VPs, and the VPs don't give a shit about the directors, and directors don't give a shit about the managers, everyone is self-serving. Everyone's 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Everyone doesn't think that the company actually cares about them. So, like, you should break the chain. You should be a good manager. But if you are barely in the company, you're not even worried about what's going to happen in 3 to 5 years, because you as the director or the manager, you're already hiring somewhere else. You're not gonna tell anybody that.
The quiet quitting.
But you also feel like the founder doesn't give a shit about you.
Yeah.
So you're not investing in the people that work for you because you're like, I'm not even going to be their boss in 6 months. And that's happened to me many times.
Sure. I'm actually like, I have a client that situation is actually
when you think
happening.
about it, you're like, yeah, that's probably correct. And then you have a toxic culture. And why did that toxic culture happen? It's because it all comes from the top. So if the founder doesn't give a shit about their first hires, and they are going to be 1 foot in, 1 foot out, thinking of switching jobs, and also they don't have a model too. Like, keep in mind, people like modeling good behavior. So if you hire somebody and you don't model that, well, maybe they're going to, I hire somebody and their job is to hire more people. Well, if I'm the middle manager in that scenario, how would I feel safe enough saying to an employee, I'm going to help you get a job at another company? How would I feel safe enough telling that to an employee? I wouldn't.
Because that hasn't happened for you.
It hasn't happened for me. So what I'm worried about is the founder saying to me, did you just hire this person and say you can get them a job at Google? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about this fear of now losing my job, my career, because I went out on a limb for somebody. Because there's no psychological safety in the organization.
Yeah, there's this concept of like chilling effects. Have you ever heard of that?
No, what is this?
So it's like basically like when you have internal communication and then word gets out that you said something about such and such, and then they found out that they can't talk privately within the organization.
Yeah.
They'll actually start to shut down, and then they'll actually start to mute themselves, and that's where it goes super left as well. And
I've seen it. I had no idea what the word was. I've never heard chilling effect before, but I've seen it happen before for sure. And then they just kind of like, they disassociate. They're just like, they're showing up, they're clocking in, they're not paying attention. I think, listen, this stuff is so important for me because I see so much bad leadership. And I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means, but I really think that the secret to successful business, the entrepreneurship is all people.
Well, it goes back to what we started talking about, which is mindset over skill set.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I think this is a Tim Ferriss idea, correct me if I'm wrong, like the big domino.
I don't know. It could be. For Tim Ferriss, there's one that I really love called fear setting.
Yeah, I love fear setting, yeah.
I don't know the big domino though.
So I think it's like, what is
we can look it up.
Yeah. It's the one, what is the one thing that I can take care of that'll just knock all the other things down that are issues. And it's like the mindset takes care of a lot of the other minutia. And then the good leadership, it sounds like based on what you've seen, takes care of a lot of the other stuff.
It does. And I think that leadership and good leadership mindset and these are all mental models, right? Like ways to look at how to operate in the world. That's really what a mental model is. So this is like a leadership mental model. I think it's so important because the bar is so low and people in their jobs right now are so transient and so like not excited about their work. And now with a younger generation, I think different things mean more to them than just money and job title. People are looking to, this is not like a hard and fast rule, but I think people care more about like balance and working from wherever they want to work. And I don't think that, hitting VP and making $300,000 a year outside of some major cities where you still need to make a certain amount of money. I don't think that matters for people as much as it did for like my grandparents.
Sure. So
you got to find other ways is the whole point of like keeping them engaged and keeping them excited. And
it's like, let's actually stack rank, like what is most important to you? Is it titling? Is it compensation? That's actually something where one of my main clients is a career coach. We help product managers land VP FANG roles. And it's like, we had to go into their goal phase, which is like it's impact, scope, comp, and the impact is like how many users are you impacting, right? And if you go work at Google, you're impacting like 1 billion people, and it's like, well, I'll take a pay cut if I'm willing to do that. Versus like if I go work at Amazon, I'm going to work 18 hours a day, but blank, And so, okay, so let's zoom back out. Locus of control, external, internal. Yeah. What else? What are some of the other big ones?
Another big one that is, I think, one of the most important ones. But all these ideas don't operate in silos too.
Right.
A couple other ideas. I'll just go over them briefly. One of them is you have to stay in the game longer than you assume you have to stay in the game. So like I have something like I call a 10-year rule. It could be a relationship. It could be losing weight. It could be building a business. Find a way to stay in the game for an unreasonable amount of time. I think that's a very important idea. That's really and I look at these ideas and I'm like, okay, is this applied in my own life? And yes, anything I've accomplished, I've just done it for longer than everyone else. So before we started recording, or maybe we got it, I don't know, but there's about 8,000 videos on my YouTube channel. A lot of them are unlisted now.
A lot of videos.
It's an insane amount of videos. It's like it's not a normal amount of video. This is during COVID. I was doing like software demos. I was doing talking head videos. I was hiring people to create demos for my account of like different tools and stuff like that for entrepreneurs. I've done podcasts. I've done different versions of podcasts. I've done solo podcasts. I've done obviously Success Story, which is like the main show. I've probably spun off like 4 or 5 different shows that I've killed. I've done like mindset stuff, which I'm still dabbling with. I've done like daily news. I've done daily, I did one called like the 10-minute MBA, which I killed. I've done like so many versions of content. So the point is time, but also what I'm alluding to is also reps. Like how many reps are you willing to put in? That is an indicator of how successful you're going to be. Sure. Whenever you start at anything, business, career, or my world right now, content, you are going to suck. Sucking is a prerequisite. You got to ship content. It's going to suck no matter what. I mean, you are already playing at a higher level than I was when I started my podcast. And I told you this, like you're already in a nice studio doing in-person stuff, traveling around. That's a lot of friction to get something started. Good for you for doing it.
Sure.
But even then, even with like the higher caliber that you're creating at right now, in 10 years, 15 years, it's going to be radically different. The conversations you have, the way you clip it out, the intros you do, the show
pauses,
notes,
my
everything,
preparation.
Everything, right? So you have to start, and the hardest part for people to sort of, this mental hurdle they have to overcome is it's going to suck when you start.
Yeah.
But that is the requirement. You have to suck to get good.
And you're saying for that mental model specifically, start something that you could see yourself doing for 10 years.
Or more. Yes.
And then that's like this, above that, it's like the stay in the game rule.
100%.
Okay.
So, but this applies to everything in life. The rules for business apply to relationship, apply to losing weight in the gym. Like if I'm going to go and lose weight in the gym, I'm not going to do a crazy ass diet that I hate.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do a workout that I can't stand. I'm going to do something that I can do predictably. And then 10, 15 years later, I look pretty damn good. That's it. That's the whole thing. And then people will say, well, that's a long time. And I'll say, like, you only have to win once in life. You only have to find one workout routine and diet that works. You only have to find one relationship that works. You only have to find one business that works. Because even if you spend 15 years on each of those things, which are kind of like the buckets everybody wants to excel at and succeed in, one relationship, you're married. Great. Congratulations. You don't have to figure out another relationship. Jim, Ideally. Jim, you don't have to figure out how to work out again. If you figured out a split that works for you and a diet that works for you and you have good energy levels, you're good. And then business. You figure out business once, you have more money than you know what to do with. You're already in the 1% or the 0.1% really if you play this game right. So you don't have to do this multiple times. So 15 years is a long time if you had to do it 10 times to have a good life, but you don't. You have to do it once. Say you start at 25, you end at 40. You have a good marriage, well, your marriage should end at 40. But say you have a wife at 40, you're in shape, and you built a business over the last 15 years. You will have more money and more freedom in your life than most people ever will, just because you committed something for 15 years.
So what does that mean? I'll give you a couple examples for me, and selfishly, I'll have you audit kind of what I'm thinking through, and then people can apply it to themselves. So what does that mean whenever you're starting out? Let's assume that I'm willing to do the friction.
Yeah.
I'm willing to pay down the ignorance tax. I'm willing to suck. I'm willing to be a fool in the beginning and just like stumble forward, right? Yeah. What are some of the best questions to ask yourself about what you're signing up for, whether it's relationship, business, industry, or like health vertical? Like, can I see myself doing this for 10 years or
that's
what
the question
else?
I ask myself.
Okay.
So when I started my podcast, at the time I was building a company. So I was building a software company that was acquired at the end of COVID.
Nice.
And I really didn't know what I was going to do next. I started dating Gina at the time, and she's the co-founder of a company called My Therapist Says. So My Therapist Says, they have something like, I think, 8.2 million followers. They're like one of the OG meme accounts. So they've been creating memes. I think they have some, I was looking the other day, they've posted like 14,000 times on Instagram, which is nuts. They are killing it at social. It's her and her two sisters. They've been doing it for almost 11 years. So I'm building this company, not alone. Obviously, there's two co-founders to this company. I'm running sales and marketing at this company. We're doing well. We have this letter of intent to be acquired by a company called Grass Valley about a year before they actually pull the trigger and acquire us. So I have about a year to figure out, like, what am I going to do after this acquisition?
This is present day.
This is like,
this is
the end of COVID, like 7 years ago. This is when I'm thinking about how to start the podcast. And so I'm looking at Gina. She has this like content business. I'm looking at the company that I'm building that will be acquired at some point. And I'm thinking, okay, what should I do next? And I'm like, wow, content business is a really cool business. They make good money. And if you follow Naval Ravikant, media is one of the four kinds of
permissionless leverage. Yeah.
Exactly. So you have finance, you have technology, you have people, you have media. It's the four kinds of leverage. So I'm like, well, as opposed to just starting a new company or getting a job somewhere or whatever after this acquisition takes place, what if I built, and I have this example of somebody who's built a media company right beside me, living with me. What if I build my own little media business? What if I build my own media leverage, right? And then you said, what is a question I should be asking myself when I start this thing? Well, I ask myself, what's the version of content that I can create for the next 10 to 15 years that I would not hate? That I won't enjoy dancing on TikTok. I won't enjoy coming up with some clever like meme like what she does every single day. Like that's a lot of lift for me mentally.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I enjoy having smart conversations about business with people. This is what I do in my day to day anyway. So I'm like, what if I just record some of the conversations that I'm already having?
Here we are with
I
me.
enjoy it. I really enjoy it. And I enjoy learning from people. And like it was a lot of different things that were aligned. Like I enjoy learning from people. I get access to cool mentors when you have a podcast. Also in terms of like, I'm a marketing guy. So like in terms of distribution and growth, if I create one piece of pillar content, I can distribute it across all channels without having to think about how to create new content for each channel, because if I have the hour and a half podcast, then I can clip that into, short form. I can turn it into a newsletter. I can turn it into tweets. Like I don't have to think about what am I going to tweet about today? What am I going to post on TikTok today? I have this thing. I record once and I can distribute everywhere. So this made a lot of sense to me. It was fun. It was enjoyable. It was scalable. I knew how to do all the pieces to create it. And I just started. That was the question I asked myself. Like, first of all, I'm thinking about it now. I actually did some sort of like Ikigai zone of genius exercise without even thinking about it.
Sure.
When I'm actually like walking through.
Yeah.
So like, does the world need it? Can I monetize it? Do I have the skill set to do it? I think,
personal joy.
Yeah. There's like 4 different circles that overlap in a Venn diagram. And in that middle of that Venn diagram is what you should do for a living. And when I'm just walking through, actually, I didn't even think about this. When I'm walking through sort of like the questions I was asking myself, the predominant question was, can I do it for a long enough period of time for it to become successful? But also then, does it fill this Ikigai Venn diagram of these perfect parts of my life sort of being overlapped and aligned towards this one thing that I want to do? And the answer was yes. And that's why I started the podcast, as opposed to meme content on Instagram or short form video content on TikTok, or even like vlogging on YouTube. Like there's a million different things that I could have done. None of them excited me or gave me as much energy as the thought of sitting down with like a Gary Vee one day.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, like personally, I didn't even recognize this or have some sort of like model that I did an experiment on, but the same thought kind of echoed for me. It's like, I'm already having these conversations. Mm-hmm. I'm just recording them now. Exactly. I could talk to people forever. I don't, like, 2 of my biggest values are community and connection. Like I really, really admire and value connecting with people on a deep level. Like if I go to a party, right, I'm going to be the type of guy who pulls someone to the side and we just jam for like an hour.
Did.
And you
did, dude.
Right. And so now we just give it to the world, which is leverage. Yeah. And when I was thinking about the people that were ahead of me in the sales world and like the info and stuff, a lot of them just had distribution. So I just didn't have that leverage. And I thought, okay, short forms, kind of gay. Like I don't like doing this fucking scripted bullshit. Like I like just being
I don't like it either.
Authentic. Yeah. And so the way that I see this is, this is also interesting with the marathon thing, right? So I'll kind of pull on that thread, but I would do this anyways. Even if, and we talked about like ways to monetize and we can get into that. And like what you see is like maybe pro tips for me, but like, or anybody else who's doing a podcast or just trying to do this type of media. Even if I didn't make a single penny from this, I would still do it. I would invest my own funds into it, which I'm currently like in the hole by a good margin, as far as like net cost of the flights and the travel and the studio, high production. And I do value it being like a little bit more high quality. And even if it wasn't, I'd still do it.
I think this is the difficult part. I think actually now for just in terms of like podcasting, I think you do have to do like a slightly higher production value, or you have to find another way to market it. We can talk about very tactical podcast things later, but the bar for content is getting higher, and especially the bar for like talking head podcast content. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And we can definitely talk about social and content strategy, because that's something that this is something that I'm actually working on now. I'm actually spinning out an agency. So I'm like very much in the weeds on, okay, not just like growing it for me, but how do I find out, for somebody with no following, how do you start to build something from scratch? And I'm testing shit all the time because I love it. I'm a marketer at the end of the day. I love testing stuff, but social media is still the biggest opportunity. I know that sometimes when I talk, I do sound like I'm parroting Gary Vee, but I genuinely believe a lot of the same stuff, because social media has changed my life. And now I'm seeing that if you not just post a lot, but post a lot with a little bit of purpose, and you optimize content and content type for each platform, and you sort of tie into trends that are working right now, I mean, you can truly build a business out of nowhere.
Oh my gosh, man.
It's not like, like even when Gary, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say one, like it's difficult for a lot of people because what they do wrong is they just copy what the biggest influencers are doing. And if those biggest influencers were going to post the same stuff they're posting today and they had no audience, they would not grow.
Yep.
You just got to find a way to play the game the way the game's meant to be played in 2026. And it's just different and beyond. We'll keep it evergreen.
Yeah, 100%. Well, we could dive into that and then we could...
But go back to the marathon.
Yeah, seriously, go deep. So the 10-year thing, right? Mm-hmm. What am I doing in my life that I'm literally going in the hole for willingly? Mm-hmm. And then how can I kind of bend reality to turn that into a business? So the other thing besides the podcast and having these... I love yapping, I love talking, and I like listening too. I like asking questions. Like when I was in school, like I was the kid that's like, yo, I don't get it. And I'm not afraid to say that, like,
superpower though.
Hey, like, I don't understand. Can you just repeat this back to me? And so like, I'm inquisitive in that way. So I'm leaning onto that. And I just enjoy digesting all this stuff from these cool mentors, like you said. So I like that lever. The other thing too is like, and I can give you some backstory, like how I got into this marathon world. The long story short is, I was learning all this personal development. I was listening to Jordan Peterson, Patrick Bet-David, who else at the time? Like the Jockos, the Joe Rogan, whoever his top guests were at the time. Yeah. And just like sharpening my mental frameworks and stuff. And I remember the first time I even heard like, what is a framework? I was like, oh, it's how to think through the world. And it's a picture frame and you can see the world through it. I'm like, oh my God, like frameworks. And I'm like, it's so funny. Like thinking back now, it's like mental models. Like what is a mental model? But I'm doing all this personal development stuff. And then my buddy, Logan, he loses like 100 pounds in a year. He's like my younger family friend who was like 300 and some odd pounds, fat as shit, right? Lost a bunch of weight, did the David Goggins story. Like he literally listened to Joe Rogan, David Goggins podcast, basically started training for the military, lost 100 pounds in a year, like identical.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Crazy work.
He signed up for a marathon February 2026. This is February 2022. So 4 years ago, basically this week. Signed up for a marathon. I was like, hey man, that's awesome. How can I support you? And he's like, well, you can come and do the race with, or you can watch or whatever. And I was like, well, that's dumb. Why don't I just run the marathon with you? And he's like, hey, it's in 3 weeks. And I'm like, fuck it, I'll sign up anyways. And because I was just like, stay hard, keep going, like pussy or whatever, like the David Goggins stuff.
You got like David Goggins in your head at this
point. The DNA, that's the little devil on my shoulder or angel.
That's a good devil to have on your shoulder.
Sure.
There's worse for sure.
Sure. And so I separate the wheat from the chaff on some of his stuff, but he was a big one for me. And I was like, how can I apply all this YouTube that I'm just digesting into a very applicable way? And it just happened to be that marathon. So did the marathon, ran it, then a bunch of people got inspired by it, and I became like this this is such a cheesy term and I would never normally use it, but like hometown hero in a way, where like small hometown, Tristan's doing some inspiring stuff, he's starting to make some noise or whatever. And I was like, okay, this inspiring thing is pretty cool. Like I like sharing motivational quotes, I like listening to them, but now it's applied and it's kind of like a proof thing. It's like, oh yeah, you can do anything, you can go far.
Yeah.
I just went far. You can too. And so it's kind of like allowing me to have some credibility. And so we go on to do all these 100-mile races, and then we really do the David Goggins thing where we sign up for the Moat 240, which is the race that kind of made him famous outside of the one that he did where he raised money for charity and stuff, which is he did the San Diego 100-miler. And that's what kind of put him on the map, where he raised money for the big like Operation Red Wing or whatever it was, the people who died in that operation. So he goes to Moat 240, writes a book about it, etc. And then on his never finished book, the second one, he tells that story. So we get all indoctrinated into that, and then we sign up for the race. And then now I'm kind of like, I landed on my purpose. I was like probably 23, 24 years old at the time, and I was really like getting sober and trying to get my life together, and I quit smoking weed and all this stuff. And I was like, what am I put here to do? And that was the year that I went through that crisis of meaning, what the fuck is the point? Like, what am I here to do? Like, I don't know what it is. And I landed on something along the lines of, I want to help people go further than they think that they can.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. And it's like a lot of people, I hear the words, have you thought about being a motivational speaker? More than a lot of people, right? And I never want to like lean into like, I'm just going to go be a guru and do like these talks, but like at the same time though, that would be cool. And I like talking about inspiring, and I like thinking about breaking limiting beliefs, because I grew up with a lot of limiting beliefs and low agency and victim mindset. And I was able to overturn that for myself because I went out and found the Jim Rohns of the world, and I just started downloading all that stuff.
But I think that what you went through is actually very rare, because people in our circle and people listen to this podcast, this is the trap, right? So you start listening to these podcasts and you already think you're better than the average person who doesn't do any sort of personal improvement or self learning, but then you get trapped in this black hole of consumption.
Knowledge action gap.
That's it, 100%. And I think so many people are stuck there.
Well, part of it is because like people say knowledge is power. That's complete bullshit. Applied knowledge is power. And I just didn't have the application mechanism, and then it became the marathon. And so fast forward, we did all these 100-mile races or whatever, and I just want to be a light for people. You know, from my hometown, there's no mentorship. There's no fucking person who you can emulate. You know, it's like you're going to be a drug dealer. You're going to be the same as your social class that you were born into. And that's an idea that I got kind of presented, and I rejected wholeheartedly from the very beginning. Like, I grew up really poor. I remember hearing in I think it was like whatever the social studies, like sociology class was, it was like, if you're born in this socioeconomic class, there's an X amount of chance, like 99 or 80% chance you're going to stay in that class. And I was like, I'll be damned. You know, like, I have something to say about that. I rebuke that. And
you got to think about what was the thing that pissed you off so much that forced you to take action.
That was one of them for sure, because I remember it so specifically. Like, I remember the teacher. I remember the I can see it in my mind, right? And it was basically it was a socioeconomics lecture of sorts, where it was like,
and they literally said to you, if you're here, you're staying here.
Not you will be, but they said the percentage of people that are born in the whatever socioeconomic class that stay there is like 8 out of 10.
And you were like, fuck the data.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck that. I was like, I literally said like some version of like, I rebuke this. Like,
that's so funny.
I reject this wholeheartedly. And that's when I really decided, I was like, I'm gonna get fucking rich. Like, I'm gonna get rich just to say F the statistics, you know?
Yeah.
Anyways, started going from like victim mindset to like your words have power and the beliefs, and did all the Think and Grow Rich and all that stuff. Marathon thing. Then I had a playground for it, and it's such an applicable, and like, for if you're watching this, like, if you need a playground to go and try to test some of these ideas out, people hate cardio, you know, like, people hate running.
I hate cardio.
Yeah.
I
like,
hate cardio.
if you want to really like try to fight the grain and go against the grain on some of these beliefs and sharpen it out, go run 10 miles on a Saturday, you know, like, you don't have to do 100, whatever, but like, you'll have to literally sell yourself on continuing forward. You have to do that resilience thing. You'll have to overcome the doubts. You'll have to, can I even run that far? Can I even hold this pace? Can I even make it to the end of the stop sign? Yeah. Right? So it's like, it was such a fun playground for me for those mental ideas. And that's why, like, then I really developed that resilience and that adaptability, and that, like, hey, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face thing for some of these races. So anyways, I didn't know how to turn that into a business, but I landed on, I'm just going to sign people up for a marathon. I did that in 2023, 2024, 2025. I paid for, like, let's say 10 people. And then I got us an Airbnb, and I was in the hole a couple grand, but I didn't care because I was making money from the sales thing. And I was like, this is like my passion thing, like, whatever. But then I signed up like 20 people in September of 2025. And then I was like, oh shit, this cost me like $5,000. Like, that's actually like less than ideal, you know?
This is not a great business.
Yeah. I was like, this kind of sucks. Like, and there's no way I can actually sustain this. And so it was a forcing function. There's this really awesome guy. His name is Alex Moscow. He does like how to host profitable events. I got introduced to him through a buddy of mine, Andrew Cruzy. And long story short, I was like, okay, I'm going to host an event. And then how can I apply this? No one's going to like pay for a marathon and pay for an event about the marathon. And it's just too one-sided. And so what I did was, it was a bunch of sales guys that I signed up for the race. And I was like, okay, how about marathon mindset? How about how to do long-term business strategy, how to think long-term as a salesperson and sales professional. Let's add some founders in there too, because I like talking with business owners more. And so we came up with the marathon mindset meetup. And then we did this last weekend. We had 75 people there, 40 first-time marathoners. I paid for the marathon ticket, but then I said, hey, $400, you can come to the event too. So I at least netted back like whatever. Like, I still...
Is it profitable?
When it's all said and done, because of the marathon ticket part, it was like I broke even just barely, or maybe a little bit in the hole, but
It's not bad.
Anyways.
And you're improving a whole bunch of people's lives. And listen, dude, from a business perspective, like if you break even on the first event, you can increase that lifetime value of that customer if you do it right.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like, I'll do it forever. So the reason I brought that up, right, and I went on that tangent is because this 10-year thing, right? Like, I think about God willing and my legs not becoming broken somehow. Like, I will probably be interested in this running community and the ultramarathon community and the whole like vertical of like running influencers, like that flavor. That's why I love Austin so much. Like, I was getting ready to move to Austin. The running scene is just so fantastic. That is something that I could see myself participating in for decades. And then the mindset part, and then sprinkle a little bit of the motivational speaker, and then the business acumen and the business strategy. And then like, you could also throw in like marathon mindset. It's like, well, how do you stay on the cutting edge with the AI stuff? And how do you think long-term with what you're investing into?
Oh, 100%.
So now it's like, I've kind of bent the world to like combine these two things. And that's something I could see myself doing for decades. And so I'm sold on that idea. Therefore, I can start to, with the thought process then, if you're using that framework, is like, okay, you found your 10-year thing that you could do, now do the 10. And that's where it becomes, are you really actually willing to do the volume, and the reps, which like, if I could turn that into an event, it'd be a hell of a lot of fun. And
but you could.
I could see myself.
Like, you could. Like, it's
Well,
you live
I've done
in this
it now.
world. You've done it. Yeah. And if you do it for another 10 years, it'll be even more successful.
Yep.
And listen, dude, at the 10 to 15 year mark, like, it starts to become a thing that you're known for.
Yeah.
And it starts to become like there's a brand around it, and there's some weight around that thing, right? Like, I'm 7 years into the podcast,
and now it's like starting to.
Now it's starting to, like, Gary V's team reached out to me to come on the show, even though I've hit him up in the DMs probably like 6 times, and he just like not answered me.
Question: so you're 7 years into your podcast journey. Hormozy talks about how like it's probably going to take you way fucking longer than you think, right? Or whatever. What assumptions did you have about your journey that you were just like totally off on? And then timelines too, and like, what are some of the learnings there after now you can sit in this chair, and I don't know how many podcasts you've done or been on, but it's thousands.
A lot.
What are some of those big, like, I thought this was this, but it's actually not? I
think that one big assumption is that if you just interview famous people, your show is going to grow quicker, which is not the case. Very, very, very massively incorrect assumption.
I think that.
Everybody thinks that. That's why they do interview shows when they start. The one thing that grew my show the quickest, first of all, was no one thing. It was just a lot of episodes, but also more of me, more of the host. So I noticed that my shows that are solo shows, they actually do better. Well, not better, but I get more feedback from my audience saying, like, I liked when you did like a 15-minute monologue on like a mental model that impacted you. My audience likes that. And I've thought about this a lot, and I think that most people, I think this is like closeted imposter syndrome. I think that people only bring famous people on because they don't feel comfortable enough and confident enough in their own expertise. But if you think
Very
about,
interesting.
I'm telling you. Now, why would you listen? Let's use poor Gary is being used as an example like 25 times in this podcast, whatever.
Love Gary.
You listen to a Gary V podcast. He's on a lot of them. There's probably like 50 out right now in the last, because
he talks a lot too.
He talks a lot. So why would you listen to one podcast versus another with Gary on it? Like, really, what's the difference?
You mean like one podcast with
Gary's
or
on
without
25 different podcasts. How do you pick one of the 25 podcasts to listen to? Because you have a life and you can't listen to all 25.
What he's talking about? Or
but say he talks about the same thing, because that's a lot of speakers. They speak about the same thing. Gary's actually a unique
the
case.
host.
It's the host.
Yeah.
That's it.
Like if I'm doing
only X factor.
It's like whether I like I'll choose a Chris Williamson over a Diary of a CEO.
Exactly.
Because I like Chris's questions.
Scott.
Or I choose Scott.
Over both of those guys.
Right, yeah.
No, in all seriousness, it's just the host. It's the questions they ask. It's the personal anecdotes. It's
that's
how much
that's so counterintuitive.
It is.
For where I'm sitting at.
But that's the truth. So the more you have your own ideas, you bring in your own lived experience, you bring in your own stories, you're more real, you do solo stuff, the more you build a fan base around you. And you are the only moat. This goes back to like a Seth Godin idea, right? I can't remember what the idea is called exactly, but it's basically along the lines of like, you are the moat around your brand. You are the differentiator. You are what's unique. You are what people come to.
Okay.
and 4. And I think that the podcasters that are vanilla, that are just like question asking robots, you could replace them with like literally AI or literally
Cloud
nothing.
bot host, yeah.
A cloud bot host, and you wouldn't care because the conversation would be the same. So if you notice the biggest creators, I'm going to add another idea onto this point to sort of further validate it. When we first started speaking, you spoke about going to someone's YouTube channel, and because you can on YouTube, you go from like oldest video to newest video.
I can see where you're going.
And if you go to the oldest videos, every creator that's still around, that's still, you know their name, when they first started, they were all like buttoned up and like proper and like very like almost like script ready kind of people. And then you go to like their latest video and like they'll say anything, they talk about their personal life, they're throwing up random shit. Like they bring 100% of themselves into the content. They've removed any kind of fake online persona for the majority of the successful ones. Because by them bringing themselves into their content, as much of themselves as possible, that's what differentiates them from every other creator. So whether or not you're just a creator who's just posting or you're a podcast host,
it's like you are the product.
You are the product, always.
So tactical question. So let's say I never came up with a name and it just, like it's the Tristan Workman show.
I see nothing wrong with that.
When I'm doing, like I'm coming up on 30 episodes, I just filmed my first, I actually have to do the second half of it here after this. My first me solo video. And it's 25 lessons from 2025, podcast number 25.
That's dope.
So yeah, good timing. I'm just gonna upload it as like number 25. It's me, you know. Do you think that it should be like the cadence could be, I just throw solo episodes onto the same channel, or is there any tactical differentiation that you would recommend?
I throw them onto the same channel.
Okay.
It's already hard enough to build one.
Yeah.
Throw it onto the same channel. If you're building when I talk about podcast, we can take all these lessons and apply them to if you're building an audience on Instagram or building an audience on YouTube. Just look at the data. Let the data lead you. So, I mean, one metric that's good for any kind of video is retention. So if you're throwing them up on the same channel, look at the retention. The retention on my solo shows is greater than my interviews.
How interesting.
So an interview could be, listen, keep in mind, and this is another thing you should take a look at. Like my interviews are like sometimes an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. My solo is like 30 minutes. So obviously the retention is a little bit higher. But I mean, like, what am I trying to do? Am I trying to just have endless conversations with people? Is that the best way to grow the show? I don't know.
Optimize for watch time.
I'm trying to build a media asset that achieves an end result, right? More eyeballs, more fans, more influence, more leads, more revenue, whatever the thing is, okay? So I'm not doing this. I'm doing it a little bit for me, but within the scope of doing it for me as like a fun thing that I'm building, I still want to be like the most effective at it.
Yeah.
So even if I do this thing for 10 years, which is the rule that I'm applying to myself, I'm not just doing shit that doesn't work for the next 10 years. And the version 1 of what I do is going to be very different than the year 10. You know, the day 0 version is going to be very different than the year 10 version. So all of this testing different ideas, all the solo shows, all the looking at the retention, the data, you look at the feedback from the audience, all of this is to sort of like progressively move towards the best possible version of content you can create. But if you never try anything different, if you do what's always been done, you'll never know if there's a better version of it somewhere. But outside of there's a whole bunch of ideas that we're talking about here. One more idea that I like to sort of reinforce. If you do that same exercise with those big creators, where you go to their YouTube and you go to their oldest to newest, I mentioned you're going to see their personality change a lot because they become themselves. It's not that they were not themselves, but they were like a buttoned up, sort of vanilla filtered version of themselves. But their personality changes and they become them on camera. But also you notice their content style changes. The most successful creators try a million different things and they never worry about shipping like a test product, a test piece of content. They don't care. They just ship it. They'll try like all these different ideas. They'll see what works. They'll double down on that. They'll start with an interview. They'll turn into a solo show. They'll start with a solo show. They'll turn into an interview. They'll start with an interview. They'll turn into a debate style. Same thing for Instagram. They'll start with reels. They'll go into motivational quotes. They'll do like long form on Instagram. They'll do, they'll do different edits. They'll do different hooks. They'll do different styles, whatever, carousel. So for some reason, all the things that make us successful entrepreneurs, we forget when we're trying to be successful content creators. You would not start a business and not A/B test everything in your business. You A/B test ad sets, you A/B test call to actions on your landing page, you A/B test colors, copy, you A/B test everything. Why do you not apply that same A/B testing to all of your content? Because people get so concerned that they've started something, the audience knows them for something.
They're glued to it forever. It's over.
One piece of content.
Digital footprint.
100%. My grid doesn't look good. My audience is used to one kind of show.
I think
throw all that shit out.
I have so many limiting beliefs that
just throw all it out. But look at the biggest
down.
creators. Look at the biggest creators and just, you're like, oh, okay, so Stephen Bartlett, Diary CEO, he started doing debate style, like roundtable with like 2-3 guests. He didn't do that for like the first, I don't know, a couple hundred episodes. He just did one-on-one interviews. So if he can do it, like, why can't you? There's a reason why he is testing out that style. In content and business, you just test everything. You always test everything. So yeah, apply 10 years of your life to that thing, but like be testing and iterating and improving constantly. You know, another example, and it's not like just you do the style of content or the format of content. Stephen Bartlett, Facebook is one of the few spots where you can see the ads that someone else is running.
Yep, ad library.
Since Cambridge Analytica, all that shit is open. You go to Stephen Bartlett's ad library, and you'll see for every single podcast, like I think 7 to 10 different thumbnails that he's testing out before he actually pushes one live for the actual show to see which one has the highest click-through rate. So even your thumbnail style or your show notes, like people get too married to one version of the thing and they never test it anything else, and then that's why they're stagnant.
And if it goes down a little bit, they get afraid and they hop back to the main thing.
But that just means that that's one experiment. That's one experiment. Bartlett speaks about this a lot. Like he pays his team to test stuff and to figure out what works and what doesn't. And if we figure out something that doesn't work, that's great. That's one less thing that we have to worry about or ever try again.
Yeah. Well, it's like I have a couple buddies. My friend Thomas Vlasman, he runs a ghostwriting agency. So he writes social content for some of the biggest names in the space. Like some of the names that I can't share.
You'd know their names.
Yeah, you know their names. And, you know, a lot of what he does in the first few months, he's like, hey, by the way, like we're not going to grow a ton. Like we're going to find as a format that's validated that works.
Yeah.
And then a format for you, et cetera. And so it's like this A/B testing in the beginning. And it's like, it's funny you say it, how a lot of entrepreneurs forget how they became really entrepreneurs when it comes to content.
Of course.
And maybe it's because there's like a personal, when we think of personal brand, you know, it's intimate, it's kind of scary, and it's not as
I think that's it. I think that stops them from testing as much as they should. It's so, no, it's really because they get in their own head about it. And now their name's attached to it. And they figured out something and they don't want to try something that seems embarrassing, or they don't want to throw up a meme because it seems unserious, or they don't want to fuck with their format. But that's...
Well, what's interesting about to go back to what you said earlier, like people like the talking blurbs, like if I were to add my things, and I've done that today here and there, sometimes I try to like bite my tongue and I want to just give the guest the whole floor. And so like with the solo episodes, like I can just have a flywheel for my own brain dump. Like it's like, hey, this is the Friday solo episode with me, and it's just like whatever. And then like,
but I like that, and that will differentiate you from all the other podcasters who don't do that. And then they're like, oh, I like the way he thinks. I really like the ideas he has. I like that he speaks from experience, from coming from, you know, he's had like difficult parts of his life that he brings into his content and he speaks about them. Like I like, he's a mirror for some people where I'm at in my life right now. So I gravitate more towards him. Then
it's like the 1,000 true fans thing. 100%. They're going to resonate with the host more.
But that's the secret, dude. And also like, I mean, like in terms of like the testing stuff, like you have to test across all platforms constantly. I mean, it's never one and done. Even on social right now on Instagram, like I'm testing like some new, you go to my Instagram, you'll see these like little like block image quotes. Right now, those are doing very well.
Yeah, I like them.
A year ago, they were not doing well. These are the most, a year ago, I was still doing talking head stuff, clipped from a podcast. And then I switched to talking head, scripted. And then I switched to image quotes. And for a period of time, I was actually doing quotes, but formatted as reels, because I played them for 5 seconds, and then they would like replay, and that signaled to the algorithm it was good content, and those would go like mega viral. So you're always testing everything. You would do this in your business.
So what's the takeaway? Just don't hold yourself up from shipping those.
Throw everything up.
Sure.
Just care less.
Yeah, care less.
Care more and less at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You obviously care about the end result.
Care more about your employees and where they're going.
There is a good line for this, and I'm going to blank on it. It is be rigid in the goal and flexible in the process. So you know where you're heading, but you don't quite care how you get there.
Sure. Well, there's like a, this isn't the same exact idea. Okay, so be rigid in the goal, be flexible in the process. Yeah, it's kind of like how do you get to the destination, right? Like I think I heard this on Chris Williamson. It was like I think George Mack came up with this, but it's like the GPS theory, where it's like the GPS doesn't tell you that you're a fuck up if you take the wrong turn. It just adapts, right? And so it's kind of like flexibility in how you get there, but rigid in the goal. And it's like the goal is X, you know. Whenever you're thinking about a podcast, I haven't really thought about the end in mind with this. You know, one thing I do know is I love having conversations. I'll do it forever. Student of the game. I'd like to keep having awesome people on. There is a component where I could definitely see myself sharing my ideas, because I like to, and again, they're not original, by the way. Like, I didn't come up with any of these. I just stole them from someone and put my little flavor on it, or my perspective.
They stole them from someone else, and you're telling them in a way that embeds your lived experience into that idea, which makes it more relatable for someone.
Yep.
All ideas are just versions of other people's ideas, but what actually makes them land is, this is actually why I think it's so important to like live these ideas, because when an idea comes in contact with reality, that's how you can truly teach it, because you've lived through it. So all the things that I talk about are things that I have examples of in my life that have worked out for me.
Sure.
And then I'm like, this is how this plays out. Like the hiring thing. This is what actually happens when you make a contract to work with somebody for 3 years. You get a great employee. They give 150%. It's a working relationship that has way less friction and way less stress attached to it. Mm-hmm. I've done that. Like, I like it.
Sure.
This is what you should do.
Yeah.
I think that when you parrot an idea that you haven't lived, that's when it doesn't land.
Yeah. Well, what you said earlier about the authentic voice, like, obviously, like, I'm a little bit politically incorrect, and I try to not do that.
You're actually very chill compared to some people.
Okay. Yeah. That's good feedback.
Maybe you can go off. I have no idea.
Like, if I say like retarded or something, like, I don't want to silence myself in that way. I do want to be respectful, by the way. And I one of the big things is, like, I started having the only podcast I have not published that I filmed was one with my buddy Thomas. It was super late at night, and we were kind of tired, and we were just
drinking.
No, not even, but just like bullshitting. Like, we might as well have been like, we were just, it wasn't valuable for the reader. So the number one principle that I have right now is, like, if someone's going to give me their very, like, limited and finite attention, I want them to come away with something valuable. And so I'm not going to be doing pranks. I'm not going to be doing pure entertainment, a little bit of entertainment. Like with PPD, he calls his channel valuetainment. I like that a lot. And, like, I just want to make sure that I'm leaning on the value side. And so I don't know what the end in mind is, but what I do know is I want it to be valuable for everybody who's coming along. I'll start to invite some of my own stuff. And I one of the things about content, and this might be where I started low. I started slower, and there was a lot of, like, cost of inaction of, like, at the end, it just got to right before I started. It was just like, I can't go another year without having some sort of distribution. And so it was so painful that I started. Yeah. But before I did that, it was like, I didn't want to do this. I tried to do it, and it was kind of fake. And I was like, oh, this is fucking bullshit. So, like, I think I've done a pretty good job so far of making sure that who I am online is exactly the same.
That's it.
As who I am on.
It's tiring when you're not.
Yeah. And I started to try to figure that out, and I was like, oh, this is stupid.
If you go to my content, I don't think it's up anymore, but when I first started my content, every single episode I would do, actually some of it is, I'd wear, like, full suit.
Buttoned up, literally.
100%. Yeah, and I was like...
You're literally buttoned up.
Literally buttoned up. And I was like, this is not me. Like, I mean, like, actually, it's funny enough, it used to be me.
You're looking sharp, though.
Hey. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, this is uncomfortable. I was, like, I was jumping on Zoom calls, like, wearing a suit, but, like, I had, like, shorts on, like, below the camera. I was like, this is stupid. And then, like...
you get off, you turn on the camera, you're like...
yeah, I was like, this is so stupid. Like, why am I doing this? It's like, be comfortable, be relatable, be you, and people love you or hate you, but at least at least you'll attract the people that gravitate towards your personality.
1,000 true fans.
Yeah, 1,000 true fans. And like, honestly, if you aren't a little bit polarizing, if you don't have strong opinions on anything, then you're actually sort of irrelevant to everyone.
Mm-hmm. Well, what is Caleb Ralston? He talks about how like your brand is like your association, and like you kind of have to know what you're for, and you also have to know what you're against. And so I'm still trying to figure out some of that, but I guess.
But you have enough that you're against already and for already. You just have to verbalize it. You just got to say
kind of build those pillars out.
That's it.
So if I were to think through like, now that you've kind of got some more context, right? I've got this marathon angle.
Yeah.
I'd love to incorporate that because that would just be so exciting for me. And then I got the business angle. And you told me something in the Uber ride where it was like, you wish you would have gone more narrow.
That's what I was going to say. So starting with the end in mind, I think is my go-to advice for anybody who's just kicking off content. Because if not, there's sort of like two ways to make content successful. But the successful metric means like, is it making you some money? And is it no
And
longer?
by the way, I don't want to be a fucking celebrity. I want to make some cash.
So that's the issue. So right now, the lane you're in is I want to be famous.
Okay.
When you open it up, when it's very broad.
Okay.
If you don't package the episodes and you have conversations like this, I love it. I love it because there's a lot of great clips that I can throw up on social media, and it's like you're going to do super well. But it's less beneficial to you.
It's more for the vanity. It tilts towards the vanity metrics, like views.
100% it does. So it works for me because my business model is tied to personal improvement, self-development, peak performance, mental model. These are the things that attract people to my content. That's what I'm sort of known for now. Now I'm even going through a little bit of like figuring out what I'm doing because I also have a marketing agency. My content doesn't actually help my agency.
Unless they're just by chance.
By chance.
Yeah.
So the funnel for my agency, ironically, is people that come on my show that are like writing a book that are like, hey, I need to build an audience on social media. I'm like, oh, I got someone for that. But the average listener, and I actually thought about like, do I shift my content? Maybe. Because I don't not talk about marketing, but like the quotes that I put up are not like marketing quotes, right?
Yeah, like Ryan Holiday, like
100%.
stoicism. Like.
So it's like, I'm probably like a 90% mindset and some entrepreneurship, but like mental model entrepreneurship, and like 10% like marketing. So do I do a shift? Maybe, sort of listen to my own advice. But right now I still do make money from the podcast, and I still do make money from conversations like this.
Sure.
Because I've built that commercial model up, right? So it works for me. I have a paid newsletter where I write about this stuff, so I can convert people that have fun time listening to this stuff into like a newsletter subscriber. I have advertisers on the podcast. It works, right?
Sure.
And I can even talk about my content strategy because those motivational quotes go super viral. I'm getting about 3,000 to 5,000 followers per motivational quote that I post on Instagram. And a portion of those convert into paid newsletter subscribers, and a portion of those convert into podcast listeners, which again, more listeners, advertiser pays for more impressions.
Well, it's interesting.
But one more thought, and then I'll let you go. Go back into where you're trying to figure out. If you were starting and you didn't have that model set up, which you don't right now, I would package the episodes and the conversations around who my target customer is. So some of the questions you should be asking me are questions that your ideal customer would be asking you. And we have a conversation about sales, or we have a conversation. And we can have like mindset stuff too.
Yeah.
But it should be like 70% sales. Like that is if you want. If that's what you want to attract, then that's how you package the show. Like I'm thinking about like Jeremy Minor. He's like a big sales dude, right? Like I don't think he has a podcast, but if he did, I'm sure most of his content would be around like sales
specific,
because that's the most of his content on Instagram anyways. Yeah. I think it's smarter to niche down at the beginning. I think the way that I did it is exceptionally hard to go wide at the beginning. And also, back to our YouTube example of these influencers, if you go oldest video to newest video, they were all super niche.
Yep.
Gary Vee had wine library. Grant Cardone had sales training. Brad Lee had sales training. I'm trying to think of other like big names that are sort of like more broad. I mean, like bigger names now. There's a lot of people that are sort of more niche. I mean, like
Ollie had the doctor thing.
Ollie had a doctor thing. Hermosi was like running ads for gyms.
Yep.
Super niche.
So Okay.
And they made money. And then that insane amount of money they made allowed them to be more broad.
Okay. So it's kind of like, and if I'm hearing this correctly, it's like, and maybe not, you did it the exceptionally hard way and just kind of like
But I did it the hard way because of like where I was at in life. So I was building a software company and I didn't need the money.
Like an outlet kind of.
And it was like a creative outlet. And I was like, I'm just going to keep building this and eventually I can use it for something. I was going to use the audience to build another company in the future, which I technically still could. I just didn't know what that company was going to be. So I didn't have this clear, like, and listen, when I started the podcast, I already knew that what I was working on was going to be acquired. So I'm like, I'm not building I could have built a podcast that was meant for, well, our ideal customer was like a VP at like a media company because we did like streaming tech. So we could have talked about streaming and media and content distribution. That could have been my whole podcast. Yeah. But I was like, I'm not building something that is going to be like gone in 12 months. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm just going to build something for me. Yep. So I was in a different spot than most people. Sure. Most people who are like, I want to start content, they have a business. They're not planning on getting rid of it in a year. And they want to find a way to drive traffic to that business. Yeah. So I'll give you where I'm at with business. And then like we can walk through some of that. So basically, I'm in this like sales agency world. A lot of people they go and like sell life insurance. I don't want to do that. That would be like the equivalent of me like cashing in on like, I'm just doing it for money. So I'm not going to do that. Like I like coaching. I like betting on people. I like helping people go farther than they think, which is breaking limited beliefs, which in a lot of, how's that shaped up for me in my career wise is they invest into info coaching. Like if I were like to invest into you, like not that you have this, but like if I were to say like how to be a 1% podcaster, I go and invest into that because I want to be better, right? It's like coaching. So that's what my world is, sales agency. So I'm managing a few offers. One of the biggest reasons I wanted to do this was because a lot of the sales guys in the space, like the people that worked for Jeremy Minor, spun off and did their own sales content. One of them did really well. Then it kind of like reinvented this whole entire like wave of like sales content. Yeah. Like I'm sure you've seen Shelby Sapp. She's crushing. She's in Fort Lauderdale. Yeah, she's doing numbers, man, like big ones. And there's like a portion where I could actually go and attract sales coaching clients, which I'm not necessarily crazy about that, but it would be more something along the lines of like email copywriting and how to actually leverage yourself as a sales rep, because even though you're in sales, you get paid high, performance-based, commission-based. You're not tied to a salary. So you've got that leverage where it's performance-based, accountability mechanism. Beyond that though, you need to start using AI. Like how many sales reps are using Claude? 0. Yeah. And it's a big problem. Like, and I'm like, you can make your life a hell of a lot easier. You could be sending mass emails, how to write a good email. I love that stuff. Copywriting. That's what differentiated me as a sales rep. I'm gonna start throwing some of that in the content. And so I could go super narrow, like literally like, let's do an hour on how to write a good email type thing. And I can get the best email people or whatever. But that's how you package an episode, but then you can add on some topics that you like speaking about. But I'm saying that to the world, you have a sales podcast. Got it. And like, it's the wine library. Like at first, this is a sales podcast. Yeah. Who knows what it'll be in 5-10 years if I get so nuclear. Like I'm not gonna say that I'll ever get to a heights like that, but I'm also not going to discount myself from it. Like that, it would be a cool string to pull on. Like what if I did follow the Scott Clary like broad pathway, or like I did do the Chris Williamson like crazy episodes and like these crazy. Yeah, Chris Williamson was also broad pathway. Stephen Bartlett was broad. Lex Friedman was broad. Lewis Howes was broad. Tim Ferriss was broad. Tom Billy was broad. But outside of Chris Williamson, they all had a lot of money when they started. Yeah. Well, I would love to have this as a client acquisition pathway. So for example, sales agency, I'm interviewing these offer owners. Like I just had one, this guy named Devin Rodriguez. He has a offer that they do podcast guesting. Yeah. So they help people get booked on all the top podcasts. Actually, except Lewis Howes. He didn't have money either, but the other guys, the other guys all had exits. That's right. Yeah. Lewis Howes. Yeah. He's great though. But this guy, Devin, offer owner, I would love to interview. Like I did interview him. It was a fantastic show. I learned a lot. We're now connected. And eventually if his sales manager shits the bed, guess who he's going to think of? Me, right? So I think the client acquisition play is like, get all the best offer owners that I would love to work with them and like actually service them. That's a play. That's a B2B. Yeah. Then I do the sales content where it's like, hey, if you want to go learn with me, or the real attractive thing and why I really started sprinting on it outside of comparing myself to anyone else was talent acquisition.
So I started having a bottleneck of like, I need good sales guys. How do I get good sales guys? I'm going to go rely on this fucking recruiter who doesn't know one from zero. Like the other best guys in the space, like the reason they have top talent is because they have distribution and people know about them. Right. And so it's like a talent acquisition play where it's like, hey, if you're a closer and you want to come work with me and you like what I talk about, apply. And then here's the application to apply for my sales team. So sales team, sales coaching, B2B sales management. If I could stack all those things, I mean, I could be at a 7-figure run rate in.
But I think that's smart.
Months.
I mean, the question you have to ask yourself is like, what's your product? Is the product the podcast, or is the podcast like lead gen for the actual product?
So in that scenario that I just played out, like let's say it's sales coaching, sales team.
The podcast is not the product in that scenario. Yeah.
And so the product is what I'm CTAing them to. And then I also have one of my, I'm starting to work with Dickie and Cole again, who I was on their sales team for a long time. Now we're building out an email agency where we help people build 5-day educational email courses and then book a call sequences. So it's like email agency. So now it's like, oh, hey, you're awesome, man. I love your business. You're doing X amount a month, whatever. Here's some sales tactics for you. By the way, your funnel kind of sucks. And then we can refer you over. And then I get 20-25% of those deals too. So it's kind of like an affiliate, like all the people that I'm having on the podcast.
So you like, I mean, it's not a bad idea. Like I see what you're saying. So what you could do is right now, because you're talking to people like me that could have an offer, right? Mm-hmm. I could be a customer of yours.
Sure.
Maybe I should be at some point because I've seen what Shelly has actually done, and I'm like, I'm sleeping on a lot right now, but that's besides the point. But you're only monetizing that one way through the relationship, through the B2B relationship, technically.
Unless I start providing a service direct to B2B, B2C, which isn't far off. Like for context, like I've sold I've done like 4 students where I did sales coaching for them, and it was all on like email copywriting. And like, I really want to lean heavily into that because I like writing. But I would do like a modified Pareto's principle that I do like 3 podcasts a month that are sort of more packaged as sales. And like the 4th one, make it like a big influencer. Okay. And that's a mindset topic. So that's what actually you said, the 70% thing. So like, let's kind of go through that. So let's say, for example, like, and maybe I have to like, obviously you can have anything, but you can't have everything. Yeah. Right. So like, it would be fucking sick to one day have a Gary Vee or a David Goggins on my podcast. Like that would be like, you can, I can. Right. Yeah. And so like, let's say, forget like living in the clouds. And I'm not saying that's clouds like impossible, but like farther away. Let's say 70% is like the sales stuff. And some of that 70% is like really in the weeds stuff that I can CT my own thing onto. And then you're saying like 20%, it's okay to have like a big influencer that could give them the mindset. Or I get like for example, one of the things I want to do is like, or I'm going to do is there's a guy named Eli who's like the best. Eli Wild? Eli, no, not Eli Wild. He'd be great. Eli, I'll get you on one day too, and we can look back at this. He's amazing. But Eli Webby. So he's like he's like a huge ultra runner, sober, like was in the LA nightlife and then became an ultra marathon runner. And he's like basically like the hottest thing on the ultra marathon market right now as far as like content. And I'm someone. You should get Dean Karnazes too. Yeah. Oh, definitely. He's so good. He's so really like good. That, would you say like, if I'm thinking about it as a function of a pie, like 20% of that is okay? Yes. Because that would be enough to scratch my itch. Because I don't want to be famous, but I want to incorporate it so I love it. So a guy that does that, you know Chris Do? Yeah. So I think that the Future? Yeah, the Future. Yeah, I love him. So I think that like 80+%, maybe 85% of his content is like targeted towards his ideal customer profile, which is like media design. Want to hire him for like design agency, whatever. But then he just does some cool shit with like famous people too. Nothing wrong with that. Cool. I like that a lot. And that's not just a podcast strategy. That could also be like your social strategy, meaning like 75, 80% of your posts on Instagram should be sales or sales related, but then like 15, 20% of them could just literally be motivational stuff that resonates with you that can go super viral. Okay. And that could actually, the way that I structure all of my social, I structure so it's a funnel within a funnel. Dude, that's my first bathroom break live. There we go. We'll take it. That means it's a good conversation. It's funny. We're way over. Shout out to Content HQ. This is where, if you see this background and this backdrop, like these guys are crushing it. Shout out to Chris. Shout out to the team. Looks good. Anyways, okay. 70% do you want me to sales. Pick it up? I know where we were. YouTube, funnel within a funnel. Yeah. Instagram as well. Motivational quotes get you a bunch of followers. Funnel within a funnel.
A funnel within a funnel. So I treat all social like a funnel within a funnel. What does that mean? So social is part of a funnel. So meaning like after I bring somebody onto social, onto an Instagram account or whatever, then I'm going to turn them into like an email subscriber or a podcast listener. And if I had a product or service, hopefully I'd finally funnel them into like a paying customer, right? That's the main funnel. Okay. So social is top of funnel, and you eventually nurture them and bring them sort of closer into your ecosystem of content. But even on every single social platform, I use each platform as its own funnel as well. Meaning on Instagram, I have top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel content. So on Instagram, right now, my KPI, my goal, my CTA, is to get people to be podcast listeners. So that's what I want to use my Instagram for. So if I just post talking head podcast clips, which would be the obvious piece of content, see a talking head podcast clip from an interview, well, I'm going to go listen to Scott's podcast. Great. But that content is not optimized for what an Instagram audience cares about. There's so much talking head podcast content right now. So that's actually the bottom of funnel content.
And it's harder to get someone to switch platforms. So that's the bottom of funnel.
So what I got to do, and it's not super shareable on Instagram either compared to other types of content. So for context, if I do a motivational quote, between 500,000 to sometimes up to 5 million views on that thing. Some of them go super viral. If I do a scripted talking head content where perfect hook, perfect 30 to 45 seconds idea of me, that will do 100 to sometimes 150,000 views. If I do a talking head clip from a podcast, it's good, but it's not like perfect, and there's a lot of editing required to make it sound good because we don't talk in social media content. We kind of just talk naturally. Sure. That'll do between 50 to 75,000 views, okay? So, and very, very unshareable compared to the motivational quotes. Motivational quotes can get me 2,000 to 5,000 followers.
And
all across the board. A podcast clip, 50, 100 followers as a KPI. So I'm just benchmarking like numbers so you understand that like some content does not perform as well in terms of that platform, but it performs well because then I can do a ManyChat integration, comment, podcast, and I'll send you the full episode. I can do that on those clips. So what I do is I use motivational quotes as top of funnel on Instagram. Motivational quotes, they're still mental model, mindset topics, entrepreneur topics, hyper shareable. Not a lot of thinking is required to share one of those things with their stories, someone's stories. That gets me the followers. That gets me in front of people who don't know I exist. That's my top of funnel. And then after they follow me for a motivational quote, I want them to know who I am. So then I do a talking head, well, I don't just do, but then I reinforce who I am and who Scott is with a talking head of me teaching something. That's the middle funnel. And then the bottom of funnel that actually gets them to take the action I want them to take is a podcast clip with a Gary Vee or a Ryan Serhant or pick a person. And you'll notice that not all 5,000 people who follow me from a motivational quote are going to be podcast listeners, but at least I have 5,000 new people who know who I am, and a percentage of them will turn into podcast listeners. That's how I use social as a funnel. On Twitter, I'll do motivational tweets, and then I'll do me actually tweeting out the latest show. The motivational tweets get reach. I say motivational, it's not all fluff, some of it's substance, but it's stuff that will actually be shared.
Broad, high TAM.
Exactly. Versus a link to a YouTube video, which gets like nothing compared to the other stuff. So you treat each social platform, and this is across the board. You can do this on LinkedIn, on literally every platform. Even on YouTube, your shorts are top of funnel for your long form. And when you post a short, you are linking, because now YouTube lets you do this. If you post a short for a full-length podcast video, when you're uploading the short, you can say which video is this short associated with.
And you can just one click connect them.
Exactly.
Very cool.
So you treat every single social platform as its own funnel. And you can't just assume that because you're creating the content, different ideas apply differently depending on which stage you're in. When you're first starting out, you just repurpose the podcast content and you post it on social because that's the bandwidth. That's what you have. Yeah. When you are in sort of growth mode and you've done this for a while, then you realize that you have to start creating specific styles of content for different social platforms that are optimized for that platform. So when you first start, you do not have a team. You do not have bandwidth, just show up. But no, eventually, when you do start making some money and you are successful, then let's figure out, okay, on Instagram, what's the type of content that actually performs best on Instagram, and how do I incorporate my ideas into that style of content, and that's my top of funnel that grows my reach and eventually brings people to my podcast. That's where I want them to actually go. Because if I just posted talking head podcast content, Instagram would be less useful for me than it is right now with the strategy I just outlined. So that's how I look at each social platform as its own funnel within my broader funnel.
Sure. You mentioned something earlier I want to double click on because I've also heard this too. What's up with Substack?
So I love organic reach.
Yeah.
Substack is the only place, it's the only ESP, like the email service provider, that gives you organic reach because it acts like a social platform as well. So if I use MailChimp or ConvertKit, anything, it does not have organic reach. It has discoverability through different mechanisms. Some of them are better than others. Kit's not bad actually, because it has recommendations. But Substack acts as its own little social ecosystem. So it has something called Notes, which is similar to Twitter.
I just made an account. My buddies that are on the LinkedIn wave heavy, which people are sleeping on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn also has massive organic reach.
Yeah. So the Substack Notes is like the new kid on the block.
100%. So social's hard. So if you find an opportunity for a piece of content that outperforms, or you find an opportunity to tap into organic reach, or a platform that has more consumers than creators, like LinkedIn, exploit the shit out of it.
Arbitrage.
100%. Substack is still in its nascent stages. It's still super early on. So there's way more consumers than creators. On top of that, you're already sending newsletters and emails to people. You also have organic reach. So why is that important? Because if you were using MailChimp, all the subscribers on your MailChimp list would come from your marketing efforts. Yeah. I have to market my shit. I have to run ads. I have to post my newsletter places. I have to have like a little pop-up on my website. That's how I get subscribers for my newsletter. Okay, it's me. Substack, I'm doing all that shit anyways, but on top of that, people discover me. That's the organic component, the organic discovery, the organic reach. I post a newsletter on Substack. It goes to my list, obviously, and then it goes to other people who are interested in the topics I talk about. That's the discovery piece. So right now, Substack grows my list. All the marketing efforts that I do, like posting my newsletter on my different socials and having all the CTAs on my website, that accounts for on MailChimp, it would be 100% of my subs. It's about 50% of my subs.
No fucking way.
Yes, for real.
50% only?
Yes.
Your own backbone efforts.
Substack, people
is pushing half as many.
Yes.
Pushing the equal amount of volume that you are to your own thing.
And I am at this stage doing about 150 million monthly impressions across all social.
150 million is crazy.
It is crazy.
God.
But that goes to show you, I'm not saying that to...
Sure,
it's great. I put out like 30 to 40 pieces of content per day. I have a team in place. I have... It's a lot.
Levels, yeah.
And there's people that do way more than that. The point is that even at that, and those 150 million impressions, every single platform, they're pulling from TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. They all have CTAs to subscribe to my newsletter. So I'm telling you that even at that level...
Wow.
Substack is still filling half of my subs per day just through people discovering my newsletter.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, and we can start to do like closing statements and stuff, but like the thing you mentioned about, and by the way, I'll follow up with you about the SOPs for the podcast, and I'll actually implement it. And
I gotta update them too.
Yeah. We'll be looking back on this like, hey, I was one of those 3 out of 50. Be. Yeah, 100%.
I know you will be. That's the thing. You can have a conversation with somebody, you can just tell. You can just tell. Like some people are like, oh, that's cool, and like never again. Not because they're like bad people, just like
whatever. Yeah, and some of them are the motivational quote top of funnel people. Some of them aren't. Right. I'm the bottom of funnel though. But anyways, just like the SOP you said with the podcasting stuff, like for anybody who's doing this, we'll give a little test to the audience. If you've made it this far, first of all, thank you just so much for listening. Hopefully you got some value from it. But start a Substack Notes account, and if you DM me that you actually started a Substack Notes account and made a post, we'll figure out some sort of prize for you or something.
I love that.
Like, cause that's like the little nugget at the end that like, I've just told a couple weeks ago, like, hey, Substack Notes is not a joke. Get on it now. Yeah. There's going to be a good arbitrage for a while. Who knows how long? Just like LinkedIn is still good. Like you have to find a way to arbitrage it, and it's not as much as it was a year or two ago.
Like Threads is better than Twitter still.
Yep,
exactly. And try different ones. Like, listen, there's a whole bunch of ones. Some of them are like politically aligned. Like there's like Mastodon and Blue Sky that were super big with liberal like crowds for a bit because they're all like trying to.
What is that, like Truth Social, but like
yeah, exactly. Okay, they're all trying to leave like X, and then there's like one called Minds, and then like I post stuff on. I post everywhere, and I'm just like, what's gonna happen?
Right.
Even my Facebook is one of my largest accounts right now.
What's up with Facebook?
Bro, it's because I just kept cross-posting stuff. And then something hits, and then all of a sudden you get this massive influx after 1 or 2 viral posts, and now you have an audience there.
What do you think?
Facebook even converts more people to my newsletter than my Instagram.
That's another mind breaker.
And it's all US based.
Another mind blower.
Like,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think? Like I'm assuming like most of my audience is gonna be founders, business owners, or like top performing people. Some of them have a personal brand, some of them might not yet. But like obviously the easy advice is like just start, just ship.
That's the hardest advice and the easiest advice at the same time.
Right. It's like it's the most straightforward, but it's probably the most difficult for people to do. As we close here, what are some of the biggest principles that you'd like to leave the audience with, or tactical action advice? Like, what are some of the things that you could just give away that it's like if they just forgot everything that we just riffed on, which hopefully they don't, what are those final things?
If someone else has done it, you can do it. That's a very important mindset to have. Don't put anyone on a pedestal. So if someone else has achieved the career you want, the life you want, the business you want, social following you want, you can do it. Reverse engineer how they did it. Building a business is not complicated. It's just hard work. So someone else can do it. You can do it too. For social in particular, niche down in terms of like who the audience is that you're speaking to, but also niche down in terms of which platform you're on. I'm talking about cross-posting everywhere. You don't have to do that. Find one platform that you love creating on.
Talk to one person, solve one problem.
Exactly. And I know I have people, I can give you an example of a creator on every single platform that just built an incredible, phenomenal career just by that platform. Like Justin Welsh, LinkedIn, Sahil Bloom, Twitter. You do, a million different examples on Instagram. Chris Do is very heavy on Instagram. You could talk about Dan Coe writing just through, now I think he's on Substack as well. There's examples of people on Pinterest that have built great careers, people on Facebook that have built great careers. Like
pick a platform, just start with one.
Pick a platform, start with one. Again,
but what about the Gary Vee, like you are the niche in the beginning, like, and I disagree with that heavily. Like,
what do you mean?
Like, like they're basically saying like just post anything, like instead of niching down.
I disagree with that.
Yeah.
I think that if you niche down, that will be the quickest way to build a business off social. And I say that because all these ideas are thrown around, like staying in the game for 10 plus years. It becomes a lot easier when you're making money. Like that's the truth.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to do it and you don't have to make money, but I can guarantee you that if we're going to gauge whether or not someone's going to be successful at all the stuff we've talked about, if I can pay you in 6 months versus year 5, there's a much higher likelihood you're going to stay with it.
Yep.
So just do the thing that's going to pay you the quickest, and then that will become the thing that you excel at.
Sure.
That's it. So that's
and you don't mean like sell out. You mean
no, I don't mean sell out at all. I mean have a product or service, monetize a skill, take that skill to the market, and then use social media as a way to actually drive traffic to tap into your ideal customer base and then sell that skill to those customers, as opposed to just talking about mindset topics and nobody knows know what you sell.
Stoicism, welcome to the club, get in line.
Exactly. Yeah. So you don't sell out. You provide tons of value. Social media is just a megaphone.
You
for
serve
the value.
out.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
You are a good
original
speaker.
Serve out, baby.
I love it.
Anything else? Any thoughts?
No, we talked about a lot of different good ideas. Don't overcomplicate it. I mean, I started the podcast just by posting 1 episode a week, and I just kept doing it. That's it. You just kept doing it. Just keep doing it. And I think that if anybody actually wants to build a podcast, if anybody wants to build an audience, if you want to build a business, I mean, one foot in front of the other, baby steps, and you'll figure it out.
Last question. If you were to, we'll jump forward and we'll probably do a few more of these, hopefully.
I'm down. It's a good conversation.
Let's say a year from now, or whatever timeline you want to jump forward to, and you're talking to yourself, and we have this little time capsule clip that I can send you and be like, hey, look at this. any advice or thoughts or things to yourself that you would say?
I'll say one more thing that I think is really important. We're all super high performing people. We're all focused on achievement and accomplishment. Don't lose sight of everything else in your life. So I speak to a lot of people. A lot of people sit across from me in that chair, and some people have had, like sold companies for hundreds of millions of dollars, and some people are on paper like billionaires on the rich list. And there's sort of like two versions of their life. One where they have, 3 ex-wives and all they care about is work, and, they have this broken relationship with their kids. And then the other is like Mark Randolph, who's like he is a co-founder of Netflix. And every Tuesday when he was building Netflix at 5:00, he'd shut off and he'd go on date night with his wife. And he prioritized relationship and family. And he still built one of the largest companies on this planet. So just don't lose sight of what actually matters in pursuit of whatever it is you're trying to build. I think that we have a lack of good male role models. And I think that even though people push back against hustle culture, I don't think that's the answer. We can hustle and we can work hard and we can have it all. But I think that means that just we don't forget about everything else that's important. And I think that the people that are the most happy and the most fulfilled that I've spoken to that play at the highest levels, they're not the people with the most money. Most people don't even know what to do with money once they make it, and they actually don't need as much money as they think they do. It's the people that have fulfillment across not just work, but like they've succeeded in family and spirituality and mental and physical health. And when you get all those things sort of locked down, that's when you're truly happy and fulfilled. So it's not really any more hack. It's just being mindful of what actually matters.
Yeah, it's like I think Bob Marley says something like, I don't want to be the man that is so poor all he has is money, or something like that.
It's a beautiful quote.
Yeah.
And I think that there's people that speak about sort of. You watch the Hormozi Tony Robbins interview. That's the perfect sort of encapsulation of this idea, because Hormozi is notoriously all work, very little family. I don't think he was really focused on having kids. And Tony, who, by the way, is also a billionaire on paper because he's invested in so many companies, so you cannot say he's not successful. He just reframed what matters in life. And I think that that's true wisdom. And I think that I hope that more people can understand that you can make as much money as you want to make while still having balance across other areas of your life. I think there could be time for a period of your life where there's imbalance, but make sure that it's a period or a season and not the whole thing.
Yeah, I think last thoughts for me is like one thing that I've tried to do is just put God back at the front of what I'm doing. And whether you're a believer or not, like you have a hierarchy, and whatever is at the top of your hierarchy is your God. And I've been really trying. I
love this idea.
Yeah, I've been really trying consciously to put my faith forward above money, because I don't want to wake up and just think about revenue and monthly profit, and it's very important. And I do want to play the game, and I love the game of business, and that's what actually gets me the most fired up, and that's where I get a lot of my fulfillment. But I'm not going to trade it for my physical health or my marathon stuff or my taking care of my mom. And
there's a lot of people, like, for some reason have like an all or nothing mindset. They look at entrepreneurship as all consuming, and they can't have anything else in their life, which I would actually argue makes you a bad entrepreneur. It means you actually don't know.
You forgot the reason.
How to prioritize and how to delegate, and you focus on shit that actually doesn't move the needle.
That's true too.
Or they push back against entrepreneurship and work, and they're like, oh, that's evil. I shouldn't be just focused on money because I should be focused on other things that are more important to me. I think entrepreneurship is beautiful. I think everyone should be an entrepreneur. I think you should at least try, even if you don't want to do it for the rest of your life, because you learn so many things about yourself. But again, just don't lose yourself in pursuit of the goal.
100%. Well, I'll do my best internalizing that, and hopefully for the audience too, they can work on that. But Scott, man, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you.
Fun, dude. Thank you.
Dude, I can't wait to see, like, we're coming up on episode 30. I'd like to, we'll do the 28. If this is episode 28, we'll do like the 10X anniversary where we do episode 280, and it's really special. And
I cannot wait.
We can blow it up. So
I cannot wait.
I'll be chipping away, man. We'll do one before that, but I'll be chipping away. So thank you so much for all the encouragement, and that's the pod.
Awesome, dude.
Thank you so much, man. That was a blast.